Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Sound Engraver's channel, where we are doing our rewatch of the classic, timeless masterpiece, Disney's film Fantasia of 1940. And yes, we are just doing one. I think on my last stream, I had said something that sounded like we were doing two in one night. But if you want to do Fantasia 2000 another time, we can schedule that in probably months in advance. Before I talk any further, let's introduce the whole panel. So I'm Sound Engraver. I also titled my name the Synesthete because I do have synesthesia. I do see colors and designs for music. I think I have no doubt that this film had a huge role in that early in my childhood. I used to watch this all the time. So yes, I'm the Synesthete this evening. And sitting right next to me, is Big Al, is it called Chernobog?
Chernobog.
Yeah.
You shall not pass. No, sorry, wrong movie.
No, that's oh yeah, that's it's kind of similar. And then we have next to Big Al is Troy.
Hi.
And I appreciate how you did your head today, Troy.
Oh yeah, I don't have a head really.
That's right.
It's technically he's still bald.
That's true.
That's right.
I am still bald. Yeah.
And then right below Troy is Netter's Network as a lovely blue centaurette.
Thank you. Yeah, well, blue's my favorite color, so I had to pick her. But hi, everyone. How you guys doing?
Yeah, welcome. And
Welcome.
I love blue. But I love her the best because of how long her tail is.
Right.
Right.
And last but not least is Professor Mickey Mouse tonight.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Very good.
Wow.
Very good.
That comes from being a dad.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I have a question for any of you, but probably for the professor. It was Walt Disney who did the voice of Mickey Mouse originally, right?
At first, yes.
That's what I thought. Yeah, very good. So welcome, everyone. And let's take it away and welcome to the chat. I know there's another live stream, so I understand we might be kind of coming in and out of different live streams. So for those of you who are here, welcome. I've got with me, well, first, I did see, yes, Melissa Harris. She was first. I believe Troy was second.
I was third.
Yes, Netter's Network was third. We've got Mr. Matchstick going on.
Is that some song lyrics or something? I couldn't figure out
I think
happening.
So. As long as he's keeping the lyrics appropriate, I'm totally fine with that. And then we've got Professor Geek with 6 thumbs up. Thanks, guys, for liking this video. I hope you're going to enjoy this. And Mr. Troy Pacelli. We've got also David Deister, and I think you've been on the stream before, but I do see you on Facebook, so welcome, hey, David. And Brian's here.
Gilmer. Yeah.
I'm not used to seeing Brian, but he's been on vacation, and it's Saturday night, so
there you
go. All right, so yeah, before we kick it off, and actually, you know what? I realized I don't think I'm on Disney, but I'm actually not on the Fantasia. So let me go ahead and click that and go all the way to the 0 marker. Now, curious guys, whoa. Well, that started with the Russian, the dancing Russian flowers. So I'm going to start at hopefully the 0 mark. Yeah, there it is. Are you guys doing this on Disney Plus, or did you find something else?
I found mine on the high seas.
Oh, that's good.
I found something else.
Okay.
You guys have the same version though. Do you have like an older uncensored
we
one?
Don't know. That's what we'll find out.
Mine's 2 hours and 4 minutes long.
Okay. Yours
I
is.
don't know how that syncs up
That's
with everybody, but
Okay.
2 hours,
that's the same as
4
we have
minutes.
to
Yeah,
go.
that's what we have too.
okay.
And I've got 2 hours and 6 minutes, but the thing is, probably after the Ave Maria at the very end, that's really where it stops.
Yeah.
Or gets into the credits. So hopefully nothing is edited, and maybe there's like an intermission edited. So we'll try to be on the same We'll
This
see.
it was a Blu-ray thing, so I don't know.
We may always possibly just have to do timestamps every now and again. It happens.
Yep. Now, where we're starting
Yeah.
is it right before the curtain opens?
Oh. Ooh. Maybe
Yeah, like
maybe
I can
that's
start with the
like
black screen at 1 second.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got a black screen, then the curtain starts to open at 4 seconds about. Is
All
when
right,
the black
well,
turns to the curtain opening.
That's cool. We'll play it. We'll play it along as we go and kind of see where we are. We'll at least be in the same musical sequence. So if you guys haven't seen, I'll just do a real quick synopsis. If you guys haven't seen Disney's Fantasia, it is a motion. Well, it's not motion picture really. It is a film of music and animation only, with a bit of programmatic notes in between, where you see this orchestra, and it's basically 8 sequences, these musical numbers set to art, and these are very famous. And in fact, a couple of these pieces became very famous because of Disney's Fantasia. They got a lot more exposure. So, for instance, Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain was really, it wasn't even performed in Mussorgsky's lifetime, and it really did get that exposure with Disney in 1940. And he died. Mussorgsky, I think, died in 1925 or 1935. No. I'm sorry. He was earlier. I'm getting my days wrong. Yeah, anyway. So before we start, I just wanted to see if you guys had anything, to say of how this movie, this film, inspired you or got you listening to classical music, if it had, or what you think of it overall. I think the professor.
Well, for me, I just really like the animation. Now I haven't seen this in years, but I remember the animation being just really spectacular to watch. And of course, the music is a big part of it. But most of my classical music exposure was from like Looney Tunes when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's right. Very good.
But I think because of that, I didn't hate listening to it in this, because, you think, kids listening to classical music would be like, oh, classical music. But because I was exposed to it so much, watching cartoons as a kid, I had an appreciation for it as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was the same with me.
It's a great way to, introduce kids to classical music. I mean, so you tell a kid it's classical music, but you show them this, and it's just part of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Then you tell them afterwards, and then they're stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Troy or Prof, did you guys have anything?
Well, I one of the things that Al was saying earlier was how he was kind of exposed to, just like so many other people our age, was exposed to classical music through Looney Tunes and the Looney Tunes cartoons and whatnot. Which
Spear and Magic Helmet.
Exactly, which is how I came to a lot of it as well. And I don't know exactly how the conversation started, but I was talking with, right up until I was in high school, I was seeing, when I'd go to the doctor, it was a pediatrician, and my family pediatrician always had classical music playing. And I'm like, I recognize that from, I don't know, some Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
And he's like, what you would really probably like? He said, did you ever see Fantasia? And I'm like, I know that's a Disney thing, but no, I haven't seen it. And he's like, and he literally gave me a copy of the audio cassette of Fantasia.
Okay.
Nice.
And he goes, you want to find the movie so you can see the animation and whatnot. But he says, these are some of the classic, and he says, and if you read and you guys remember cassettes, right? They had all the information the albums did, but they were really, really tiny, but it had all the information and some of the history on each one of those pieces of music. And that really wasn't what I'd consider my first kind of formal exposure to classical music, where I was actually reading the names of the composers and kind of holding that in my mind as I was listening to the music.
Oh, cool. Good. Good.
I had first seen this film, I was probably 8 or 9 or something like that, when they re-released it to theaters. And I was excited because I didn't know I'd seen the images of the Mickey and the Sorcerer and everything like that from like the intros to the Disney Sunday Night Movie and stuff. So I was excited, and I got there and watched it, and I was so incredibly bored the entire time, which sounds really horrible. But in my defense, you guys know how my brain, I always look for story.
That's
So
true.
okay, some of them had
Oh my
narratives, and
God,
that was
this must have
cool.
been torture for you.
It was horrid as a kid, but as I grew up, I realized, I got it, and I did come to appreciation for it. Now I love the music. The music was never a problem. It was just I wanted there to be a bit more of a narrative with the characters. Like, okay, the flowers are dancing now. One of them go do this, and then let's have some consequences and some tension and blah blah. That kind of thing.
What about the Beethoven Pastoral Symphony?
Yes,
Just a little bit of story without words.
yeah, that and the Mickey and a lot of them did really appeal to me. And since then, being a big Disney addict as an adult, you going to Disney World, there's so many elements of this movie using the music. Like if you go to Disney World and experience the Disney Philharmagic or the Disney Phantasmic, oh my gosh, Phantasmic. Look that up on YouTube sometimes. It takes all the elements. You've got Chernabog from Bald Mountain. You've got Mickey the Sorcerer combating evil with the power of his imagination and such. And
Wow.
it's great. And they use all the music from it too, so it's good stuff.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you guys for the intro. And we, before queuing it up, we do have a couple. Yeah, Mr. Matchstick says most of my classical exposure was Looney Tunes and Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and I think it was either Warner Brothers at that time or it was Disney's Fantasia.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, great. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about these different pieces. Not so much a theoretical analysis, more like a little bit of trivia, musical trivia for these pieces. So let me go ahead and go back to Chrome because I'm not on Chrome when I'm with you guys. So if you guys are ready, I'm glad you can't see me on camera right now. I'm about to conduct 3, 2, 1, play. Okay.
Okay.
Well, now you've just described it, and we're seeing it in our minds. So
So we're starting between
Are we
like the
starting?
1 and 3 before there's anything on screen.
I have it. Yeah, I have it black, and it's going to be like a blue screen. Curtain goes up, blue screen,
Right.
and
Right,
all that.
okay.
Yeah. Good. All right. Ready, guys?
Mhm.
Ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, play.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think we're on the same spot.
yeah,
Ooh,
I for the longest time I've said I love when Al comments at the beginning and reacts because that always helps everybody to know how to be synced up. On the
That's
rewatch.
why I do it.
Oh, thank you, Al. And this kind of reminds me, I've never been in a professional symphony, but I had years of orchestra experience, and how they're setting up and all of that. Of course, with the lighting and shadows is different, but they're just getting on stage and
Mhm.
playing different parts, maybe excerpts of music that might be a little bit more difficult for them, and so they're just kind of running through different things.
And as a me, are there no women in this orchestra?
We've
there are.
got 2 harpists at the end.
Ah,
Yeah.
I do like that blue back screen and the lighting.
mhm.
They're almost silhouetted, but not fully. And then you've got the Technicolor with the different color lights and whatnot. So you've got the orchestra themselves similar to the animated characters we see throughout. I mean, they're live action, but they're colored in a way that likens them to the colorful animation, I think.
I love that aspect. And it introduces us into that first animation we see, where we see it first with the orchestra, but the Toccata and Fugue goes from the orchestra with the Technicolor to that beautiful animation we see on the about the second half of the song. And the organ piece, the actual Toccata and Fugue in D minor for organ, I didn't realize how short it was, but it is under 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
And here comes the
Deems
not the
Taylor.
maestro, but he's like the narrator of the film. He's actually talking about the program. And I kind of want to just listen to him, but this is a commentary video.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
cool to think this guy now lives in history forever at the beginning of this film.
Oh, I'm sorry, Al. I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
I just said it's so cool that this guy probably, this is the biggest thing he ever did in his life. And just imagine like him and his family and having it for posterity.
Yes. Yeah, I think he probably looks more late 40s maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think this, again, this is 1940, so we're getting into a beautiful decade of film.
It was right on 1940?
Yeah, it was. I think this was premiered
80 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah, you remember when it was released, don't you, Al?
Aww.
I was at the premiere.
You were at the premiere, right?
Yes, I oversalted my popcorn.
Well, and they invited you because that whole dinosaur trek, you were there for that, right? You were in the background.
Well, you see, I was the foremost authority on Beethoven, having shared,
having known him personally, yeah.
Now I like that he's talking about each piece before it begins. Of course, you don't really have that at your disposal in a concert unless it's at the very beginning of the show. You have program notes that you read through while listening.
Mm-hmm.
Which is in film you that's missing. They don't, not most films don't have some sort of a program handed out to you as you get your ticket.
Now, yes, absolutely. Now this guy is key. I didn't know who he was as a kid, but he is worth an honorable mention, and that is Leopold Stokowski, this conductor here, this maestro. I didn't know anything about him, but he is not only he's a famous conductor, of course, long past, but he orchestrated this Toccata and Fugue that Bach did for organ, and he also orchestrated Night on Bald Mountain.
Oh wow!
It's probably Mussorgsky, I think, did write the instrumentation for Night on Bald Mountain. I'll have to look, but I think he finessed it with what you see here.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a very famous orchestrator, and I personally love the orchestra with this piece even a little bit more than the organ, as much as I love organ.
Mm-hmm.
But I love this piece though. The Bach really knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the program notes and everything like that, and I think we forget today because Disney's become a bit formulaic. Once something works, they'll just latch onto it, like the live action remakes and so forth. But Disney, when he's Walt Disney himself, when he was getting rolling, he was always looking to be innovative. So, Snow White, the first motion picture length animated feature, that was a huge innovation. It was something to try, and he started blending live action with animation on the same screen. He was always working at trying to innovate. So I think the idea of Fantasia itself is a very innovative idea. It's educating a lot of people who might not know much about these pieces, and it's bringing children into it. As Al mentioned at the beginning, and stuff like that. So that's one of the things I loved about Walt Disney. He's one of my personal heroes, and just the always pioneering creativity.
And you gotta love the imagination with not just the music, of course, but I don't know, that light really does evoke like something out of your subconscious. Like this could be out of your imagination with listening to some piece like this.
Oh yeah, that's incredible shadow play.
Yes, I love that. Everything's shadow and silhouette. I like that you can't really see their faces until the narrator speaks again.
Mm-hmm.
I should call him key speaker.
Deems Taylor is his name. I don't know if that'll stick in anybody's mind. But
I knew he had an unusual first name.
Yeah. And the lighting, we're talking about the shadows and how the silhouettes are full until a certain moment they want you to. And that's got to be really, really smart lighting. So the light design, the key grips and all of them who, positioned everything has really got to be a cool.
And just to assure you, these are real musicians. You know how there's a lot of violin musician acting they're not real musicians, they're just actors with instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the Philadelphia Orchestra at the time.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it was Philadelphia.
And what was the conductor's name again? Sound Engraver?
Leopold Stokowski.
Okay. So everybody's talking about Looney Tunes, but I think this is the guy that Bugs Bunny's always imitating.
Right.
With the putting his ears in the
Oh.
crazy hair.
I didn't consider that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that cartoon.
Actually, I do want to talk about the design of this animation. So we're getting into just the strings section. And when you see these designs, whether it's the bows themselves or this kind of yellow diamond, that's actually, I didn't know this as a kid because I just wasn't a violinist at the time, but they're doing down and up bow direction between going down, pulling the bow down and going up. And you can see this played out best with these little golden bow strokes here.
Okay.
That's actually how the performers are playing their bows. And so the artist, I'm sure, like was picking up that motion and trying to set it to this kind of artistic design.
It's neat that they did it over a cloud-like background too, because it looks like rain or lightning.
Yeah,
The strings and the strokes.
and those are bridges that passed by. Violin bridges or string bridges, I should say.
And am I the only one that when I hear this, I think of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the Black Cat?
Oh, Troy, that's a really good point. So this is Baroque that did a lot of this kind of Gothic mood and feel that you have. For instance, to be honest, I know one of you gamers out there on chat would know the composer, probably Daniel Heron too. Aged Boomer too, if you're there. But the composer for Castlevania, that was a lot of this Baroque music.
Yeah.
So you're not, you're totally on the mark there.
It's just that, because music, is in the public domain, it can be used by movie makers all the time. So this one actually has been used in a lot of movies. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, Toccata and Fugue, as a music student, I always got a little bit irritated. I get why they did it, but the organ department, the organ performance majors and the professors of organ, masters of organ, they would always do a concert on Halloween night, and they would always start the concert with this piece. Now, I love piece. Now, it's like everyone thinks it's cool, but I kind of in a way wish this piece was not so much associated with Halloween, where you could actually think of it as a separate thing. It's actually by the way, this example is called absolute music. Absolute music is there's no story, there's no idea. It's just music for music's sake. But you can probably think of it, let's use this music as incidental music for some Halloween event as well.
Well, I think it really comes, the most famous use of it is the 62 adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. So you associate it not only with Phantom of the Opera, but an organ. It's not necessarily an organ piece, but it is now in the zeitgeist of humanity thought of as an organ piece.
Right. Well, actually, Bach did compose this for organ.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. So it was when he was with the patronage, or not patronage. Well, it was a church kind of patronage. He did work for the church, and he was a master keyboardist before he was really not known as a composer in his lifetime, but he was known as a keyboardist.
That was the third time today I've heard the word zeitgeist.
Now you're going to hear it all the time. It's just synchronicity.
It is funny how these classical pieces, especially when it's something like, because didn't he write this as basically a musical exercise? Like it's kind of something to learn your scales or learn your exercises with, isn't it?
Yes, a few could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting though how culturally you'll latch onto certain things. So there was that the Universal Monster movies use classical pieces. Some of their themes are we all know the Hitchcock Presents, that bump 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 bump. Yeah, I forget what the name of that music was, but when Alyssa used to watch that little Einstein show with these little kids teaching kids classical music, and they would make up their own lyrics to these classical pieces, And it was so bizarre seeing these little children walk around singing these silly little lyrics. I'm like, that's the Dracula theme. Stop it. You can't sing about a magic pair of socks or something like that. You know?
Right. But it helps. That's the thing. It helps them register musical phrasing and important signatures.
Because the theme to Dracula, the original Dracula, is Swan Lake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people forget
I didn't
that.
know that. Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah,
want
Go ahead, Nanette. Go ahead, Nanette. Oh, are you
lost her?
Did we lose that?
I'm sorry. Let me check. Oh,
No,
it looks
she's
like
there.
She's not showing as muted.
No.
I don't know what happened to you, Netter, but we're looking for you. But
I love this part where he's conducting. He's just raising this beam of light.
That is cool. Yeah.
what gets me is sometimes you'll get a tune in your head and everything seems to fit it. And what's really and Professor, I'm sure you can relate to this. Some of the music that you must listen to with your daughter gets stuck in your head, whether you want it to or not. Lately, we've had in this house, we have had Baby Shark stuck in our head.
Oh,
And
let's
sure
talk
enough-
about Bach, please. Or actually, better yet, let's talk about
change the
Tchaikovsky.
lyrics.
Well,
sorry,
that's just it. And you end up putting lyrics to it. Like today it was D.R. Yicely.
No, not on my channel. Not on my channel.
Hey, it's music. It's music. It belongs on your channel.
I only allow good music on my channel.
Our area last year was bombarded with that song because it was the theme the Nationals were using every time they got a home run.
You're kidding.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Let's bring it back to Tchaikovsky now.
No, we're done with Tchaikovsky now. Now we're gonna go.
No,
actually, we're starting Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, we're starting the Nutcracker. Which
it's Christmas time. Yeah. No, sorry. Again, another association.
That is true. Now, the Nutcracker was the ballet, which, when he, to be honest, I don't know if he composed that ballet for Christmas.
I don't think so.
I think it's,
the ballet was separate, but then it inspired
the story,
a novella, story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Visions of sugar plums dancing in there.
Actually, I'm not even sure if it was a novella or not.
The other Disney addicts out there, if there are any, might recognize or know what I'm talking about. But Disney did a parody of this, their own thing, with Goofy. You know those old shorts they used to do where all the characters are goofy? Well, they did one like this where all the fairies are goofy. One of them is like, goofy, and he's messing things up, and it was great. It was brilliant, but it was just a short.
I love those shorts. Is that available anywhere?
Yeah, I'll find it on YouTube and drop the link.
That's a good idea.
If it's on YouTube, I know.
It was E.T.A. Hoffman's story, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do remember that. The Mouse King always scared me. But, my first exposure to Nutcracker was this movie.
Right.
Before I even went to the Nutcracker.
Oh, wow.
Mine was when I was even younger than the story I told you earlier. Here in Chicago, it used to be Marshall Fields. My grandmother used to take me every Christmas to have breakfast with her in the walnut room under the giant Christmas tree. And then we'd go outside and walk around and look in the windows of the store that were all decorated for Christmas with animatronics and all that. And the first year she took me, it was themed, the story of the Nutcracker. Each window was a different segment of the story.
Oh, that's cool.
And the music was playing outside as you went, window to window. And that was my first exposure to it. And I was just so, in the city, child looking up at the lights, amazed.
Oh, yeah.
And that just, is a flashbulb memory for me.
I would be very upset if I were a spider. These little fairies making my web so visible that I got to eat. Spider got eat.
I do like the progression of the animation throughout this suite here, because you start with the fairies, and we'll come back to them. But they're these supernatural creatures, these fairy tale creatures. Now we're moving into onto the ground, like actual fungi. We're literally there, and we're going to go into fish and flowers, and we do all these natural natural things that become characters before we go back to the fairies. And that's kind of one of the themes, I think, of a Fantasia. I'll kind of pull out later, but
anthropomorphized fungus, is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Fungi.
They're fun guys.
these guys moving. I mean, that's kind of fantastical. I mean, mushrooms don't really. Mm-hmm. But this is actually, I don't know every movement's name, but I think this is of what the French composers and Russian composers used to call it the Orient. So they would use a lot of these different colors to express the exotic.
I remember getting into an argument with a colleague too about the mushrooms there, whether or not they were racist or not. It's like, they're not. Come on.
They're mushrooms.
But for the Orient, and the bloom is supposed to be like the hat, and I was like, no, I mean, the satyr later, sure. But
that was to convey the exoticism that
exactly
of the Russian composers to people of the North and the West, and also the French composers to the people of the East. And so it was more of that kind of.
Yeah.
You can't have that conversation today, though, because people cannot understand context. If it makes them uncomfortable, doesn't matter what the context is, it's automatically offensive.
Now, moving on to this one, I didn't know this before as a kid, but Disney, this Fantasia, really has this theme of there's kind of a prima donna with one color. The ballet dancer has a very unique color to her, whereas all the others around her have, some of them are pink, some of them are orange and blue, but there are many of those colors. But the prima donna has her solo, and so she has her own separate color.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we'll see that in toward the end, the last sequence with the hippos and the ostriches.
Oh yeah, I love that one. I just dropped the link for Dance of the Goofies in the chat. People can bookmark that for later.
Dance of the Goofies.
And actually, I am hearing a little clicking from a computer.
I just was typing that to put that in. I stopped.
Oh,
okay. That's me.
Like I say, it weren't me this time.
Now, this is, I think, if I remember correctly, because I actually didn't look into every detail of these pieces, but I believe this is the Dance of the Peacock. And I love the sound of this. Mm-hmm. Just the strings are using what's called consordino, which is where you put a rubber mute on the bridge, the transmitter of the violin, and it has this beautiful muted, it kind of demonstrates the exoticism of something.
Oh, cool.
Or it's also a French color too. It's very typical of the French composers in that.
This does have sort of a mystical feel to it, so that exotic, like you're saying, and I didn't know about that, a mute. That's really cool. But I love, instead of peacocks, we have these fish with these large, elaborate tail fins, so it's the same kind of idea, but because they're underwater, they can move in these very uncanny ways because of the waves and stuff. So it's not just a peacock on the ground wouldn't have been able to do this, in terms of subject matter.
That's right. And I think the dancer is a solo dancer from the ballet. It's pretty cool. But I like how alluring these fish are.
Well, they're just pretty.
Little teasers.
No, they're vain. They know they're vain. They know they're pretty.
Well, essentially they're veil dancers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I think this animation, I love this old style hand-drawn animation with that light.
I even have a greater appreciation for it now, knowing that all of this was hand drawn.
Yes, can you imagine?
Every frame of it.
Yes.
and with a very high frame rate
Yes.
to get the smoothness.
So that means there was
motion.
a lot of
There's
frames.
a lot of frames.
Consider those stars and the lines when she's twisting and the bubbles. Lots
oh my
of
gosh. Yeah.
Because, like I said, if you compare the animation at that time with more recent, when there's just it's not as dynamic.
Right.
And people were like, they don't make it like they used to, because they used to be they were artists. They wanted it to be so good, and now they're just cranking stuff out.
Now they're cranking it out. They're taking a lot of shortcuts, a lot of less movement, so that you can have less frames.
Wow.
Reuse of motion over and over again.
Yeah.
None of that here.
And just the color palette too. The sequence is just so beautiful. And
there
now
are
we have
times you forget that it's animation. It almost looks real.
That's right. I just have to say that these flowers look extremely athletic.
Yeah.
I feel really
Yes.
out of shape when I watch these flowers.
So if someone's going to say that the fungus were problematic before, then someone of Russian descent should be offended by this too.
Well, and this was no, because the composer's Russian. It's Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
I agree
if
with you. I'm saying
anything-
if you're going to say that.
Anything west of Caucasus can't be racist against. So
Right, exactly.
I love these the female flowers because I never really knew their shape, but now you can see kind of like the thin waists of
Yeah.
stems.
And they look so much like the outfits that you would expect someone of this era and ethnicity would wear. You know,
This is so fun to play on violin. So as far as these numbers, I have played 4 of them in my life.
Oh wow. Which one? This one and
Yeah, I've played Nutcracker, this movement in particular, which is really fun. I've played the Beethoven Pastoral, Symphony No. 6. I've also played Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, and I've played as a solo violinist, Ave Maria.
okay, that's right.
I would love it if you if for Christmas you'd play that piece on violin.
The Trepak, the Dancing Russians.
Yep.
That's a hard one.
That's why you should start practicing now.
I mean, I have
No
like,
pressure.
No pressure.
I mean, I have an hour of Christmas music under my belt. Would that suffice?
Yeah, I suppose.
So we moved through the seasons here too.
Yeah.
And this has been our first animated short with characters thus far. And that's a common theme, that the seasons change. Of course, famously in the Night of Bald Mountain to Ave Maria at the end, but the light will come after the dark, that kind of idea. But it is a theme you see in a lot of these, even here with the seasons, changing and the subject matter I mentioned we'll cover later.
I always see fairies. I always think of my ex. She loved fairies. She always complained that there were not enough brunette fairies.
Really?
Yeah, she was a brunette, and she always anytime we found some kind of a fairy that was portrayed with dark hair, she would buy it or stare at it and just loved it.
Did you ever tell her that every Star Wars heroine is a brunette? Besides
you go.
Marvel. With the films, they're all brunettes.
Yeah,
True.
I love this leaf sequence.
I like how you can juxtapose the leaves with the fish swimming and see what similarity and what differences. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. I also like that the fairies have these kind of probably late 30s, 1940s haircuts.
Yeah.
I love the background too. I love the background of these.
I love how the milkweed seeds, they look like women floating away with big bustle dresses.
Yep.
Every now and then I have to do a double take just to make sure they're not actual little fairies. But yeah.
Oh, the cellos coming in where the leaves are blowing is just so beautiful.
That is nice. Oh, I want fall.
I
So
know.
bad.
I wish we could have 6 months of autumn.
Oh yes.
Oh, that'd be preferable.
And 5 months of winter,
And 1 month of
and
summer.
1 month of summer.
I'll skip summer if
No,
we just
no,
get a month of
no.
spring.
1 month of spring and to have no summer.
Okay, I'm good with that. Yeah.
How about 6 months spring, 6 months fall?
You gotta have
All right.
winter. Gotta have winter somewhere for Christmas.
I was just going to say, let's have 1 week of Christmas snow and then the rest fall.
Now these are my
I counter with 2 weeks of Christmas snow.
Okay, fair enough.
What'd you say, Senator?
Oh, my favorite design is when the fairies frost the leaves.
Yeah, I like that because of the frost or the snowflakes. Even when we get to that, the patterns they make just seem to match the sound waves. I guess I don't know how to explain it, but it works. It just makes sense for me.
Well, that's the beauty of this animation is that these artists had to have some musical instinct to match this animation. Oh, can you imagine how time consuming that would have been?
Oh yeah.
Goodness. Like as a musician, I'm like, yeah, we're done recorded, guys. How are you guys in the animation department?
The animator's going, shut up.
You just made me think of the movie Amadeus. Have you got it? Have you got it? I'm trying. Have you got it? Have you got it? I'm trying.
That's right. Oh, beautiful lighting on these snowflakes.
Mm-hmm. I like the snowflakes themselves as being like the dresses of the.
And
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they're all unique.
Mm-hmm.
No snowflake
No,
is the same.
no reuse of two
Not when they're hand drawn.
snowflakes when they're hand drawn. Right?
Yeah. That's true, man.
Here we go.
Yep.
So I didn't read this. I think this is a poem coming up, right, Prof?
The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Right.
Yeah, there's a poem version. There's a couple of different versions of it out there.
And I have a couple things to say of this next piece because I really don't know much about the composer.
Mm-hmm.
Very famous piece, but he just wasn't prolific as a composer in that, like Beethoven, we study him and stuff like that.
But sometimes you get that one piece is all you need. The one-hit wonder.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about that term before starting this. It's like, yeah, this was probably one of those things. It's the one-hit wonder.
Now, of all the with all the talk that we do about the in quotes live action remakes that Disney keeps doing, in my personal opinion, this is one of my favorites. When they
I like that. That was
did
good
a
one.
live action full feature length film that gives a modern take on this story, I thought was brilliant.
That was good.
If you're going to
Nicolas
take
Cage.
something, if you're going to take something and completely, do it up and do it completely different, then that's how you should be doing a live action thing. It's barely a remake.
Now here we have the sorcerer Yen Sid. You don't hear his name, but his name is Yen Sid, which is Disney backwards. That's how they decided to get that name.
I did not
And
know
he's got a bat there, but he's changing it to a butterfly, and that's the recurring theme, the light coming from the dark, over and over again. But he's one of the good wizards of the Disney mythos, as Mickey's wizardry or Mickey's ability to do sorcery is part of the Disney mythos now too. It reoccurs in House of Mouse and all the video games and such.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not up to speed on anything after 2000.
That actually makes sense when you consider their continual reference allegorically to Disney magic,
Yeah.
Just I think someone's microphone is really close to the keyboard. And
it's not
that
me.
you-
I haven't touched the keyboard.
Not
since I was
typing,
reprimanded.
I actually even stood up away from my computer just so I could stand.
now, actually, I was convinced whoever composed this was Russian or East Europe, but this is a French composer, and it makes more sense now the more I listen to it because it is densely chromatic, but at the same time, it's very delicate, which is also a signature of French composers. And actually, as much as I love this movie, I would recommend you guys listen to these different pieces just as a separate piece with a good recording, because you can understand how this is less than 10 minutes long, this whole piece, and there's so much orchestral activity.
So I have a specific question for you about this piece.
Sure.
If you don't mind. So and I knew this, but he introduces it saying this is a piece that tells a specific story. And this piece is not just a bunch of, impressionistic pieces of artwork. This is an actual story being shown to us. How does one derive that story from the music? I mean, I know feelings are implied, but how do you know, for example, that what the artist drew here, the broom taking a step, in time with the music, is what the composer kind of had in mind, or
I don't know.
Not?
Well, that's a really good question, because Disney's Fantasia is such a unique take on film and animation and music, because the Sorcerer's Apprentice, Paul, Dukas, I think his name, but it's French, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing it that correctly or that well. But I think this was premiered in 1897, and this was about over 40 years before this film. To be honest, I don't know the story that inspired. This composer personally was inspired by a poem by Goethe, and he wanted to write a tone poem, which is actually a symphonic style of a programmatic piece based on a story or a poem or an idea or an image. And this kind of sounds wizardry. I mean, you can hear that in the coloring. And
the thing is, because this was, for most people, this is their first and most memorable exposure to this piece of music. So you can't have another first impression of it. You can't formulate your own picture in your mind once this is already there,
You make a good point. I just read a comment, because I actually did listen to this piece as a separate piece on a recording on YouTube, and one of the comments said, I wish I heard this piece before Fantasia, because now all I can think of is Mickey being beaten by these brooms.
Right.
It's this bit right here is heavily used in Phantasmic, which is a show of water and lights. They use light holograms and fireworks and stuff like that. It's at nighttime, and so it's really cool at Disney Hollywood Studios. But timeless story of taking the shortcut. So it's a timeless kind of fable. That Goethe started there, but do the work. Don't just look for the shortcut. Obviously in magic. But these brooms here, they look. You might think they're brooms. How hard is it to? But in the book series Kingdom Keepers, these brooms are freaky. You face like a room or a big line or stack of these things coming at you, and they carry buckets full of acid too. So it's just like, wow. What? Yeah. In the books.
And when you also consider, if you consider folklore and magic and so forth, what are those brooms but golems? They were animated objects created by a magician, to fulfill a task.
That is so brutal right there.
I know. I love to see that from the shadow. As a kid, I'm a little traumatized.
If that is brutal, then from a certain point of view, this is horrifying.
I'd rather see the broom hacked to death than the Tyrannosaurus Rex feeding later.
Well, there's that. But I mean, now you have an army of them.
Exactly. That's what I'm
that
terrifying.
Should,
I was always I've always been afraid of these concepts. Even Disney was like, dang, Disney, this is a little too much for one protagonist. Like, Mickey needs an army now.
But it's an excellent moral lesson, right?
Yeah.
You could apply this to today as we're dealing with technology, and you start talking about things like AI and self-replicating robots and stuff. It could be very easy for this to happen in the real world.
That's a nice image of him trying to bail with one bucket and all of these many brooms.
I love that image. It's like this row of brooms, like they've got over 15 buckets, and he's trying to do it with his one.
Hi, Agent Boomer. I see you came into the chat too. Good to
It's
see you.
Agent Boomer. Thank you. And I love that they're continuing to walk into the water, and they're just dumping water in water.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what was going on in our county the other day.
Oh no!
Water everywhere.
Yeah.
PTSD here, Al?
A little bit.
But it underscores they're just automatons. They're not thinking through their tasks. You've set them in motion, and they will continue until stopped.
They think they're doing what's right. They're just doing
their job. Yeah,
they're doing their job. Yeah. But I love the wizard coming in because he's just going to make everything right, but not without reproaching Mickey after that.
Well, what's key about when Yen Sid comes in is that he stops it without even wearing the hat. So the idea is that Mickey, as the Sorcerer's Apprentice, thought that hat's what I need. Then I can be as powerful as Yen Sid. But he stops it without even the hat. So the idea is that it's the time and the training that you put in it. It's not these little shortcut accoutrements.
That's good. That's good. And I love his blue robe.
Yeah. He's a cool character in Kingdom Hearts.
And Yen Sid, he has, it's the introduction music that's recapitulated at the end. And this is true to the original piece as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I like that his reproachful glare isn't without a little smile.
As a kid, I never recognized that. I thought he was just an angry wizard for getting them all into trouble and stuff. But as an adult, I see the tiniest smile.
Yeah.
And the little playful whack.
Makes you think that where did all the water come from?
It was magic too. It was a never-ending well.
Nice congratulations from the mouse himself.
Yep.
Well, he was calling forth clouds.
Oh, what was that, Nanette?
We lost you there.
Oh no!
I said when he first started, he was calling forth the clouds and all that. So the water could have come from rain clouds.
That's
Well,
true.
there's if you consider magic has to do with your comes initially from your imagination. His dream was about all that water. Was it the water they were pouring that made him dream about it, or was his dreaming about it resulting in all the water? Maybe a little both.
You guys make a good point there. That line is kind of obliterated.
Mm-hmm.
Sound Engraver, I was going to ask you, when the chimes fall over like that for a little comic relief, is that something that can actually happen in performances?
I hadn't seen this edition before, and I've never seen that part. And when I saw that, I was like, that never happens.
Okay.
It would happen in like a high school orchestra.
Sure.
Like, have you ever seen those YouTube videos of just bloopers?
Of course.
Now this one is this part of the narration wasn't involved in the put in the version that I saw when I was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about like the evolution of dinosaurs and all of that, and that's great. That's programmatic. But I might also include just a little bit of a historical context of this piece coming up as well.
Yeah, it is. I do think it's interesting. They try to set this thing apart. Is now this isn't fairy tales. This is science, and yet at the same time, it's exactly like the fairies. It's the same. It feels exactly the same. The story and everything. And
yeah, like the cells, like these little microorganisms, they have like a storyline. Oh, I've got to get away from this bigger thing that's trying to eat me,
Yeah.
And this is the piece, Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. And by the way, chat, I'll try to get back to you guys. I'm on a separate browser with this film, so I'll definitely try to refer to the chat. But Stravinsky, the Rite of Spring, this is one of these classic pieces that just psychologically damages me. It's just it's a very, very unnerving, very disturbing piece of work. It's a ballet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ballet, but we're going to get into even just the very first note. And this is actually the first instrument you hear is a bassoon in a high register played softly. It's a very unusual tone for the bassoon. Bassoon is usually, well, it's like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, bum 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 bum. That's the that's the bassoon. But now the bassoon is being used in a very strange way. It's not used as it was traditionally used in the Romantic and late Romantic period. It's high pitched. It's solo. It's song like. It's haunting. And this piece actually is not about dinosaurs. It's actually, it's kind of disturbing. The program is based on this mythical place where there's a god of spring. And so you can hear this bassoon coming and it's awakening. It's like a dawn, the awakening of a dawn.
Okay.
And the program is the really the dance of the adolescent girls or the virgin girls, and unfortunately, it's just mythos and a myth, really, and it's about the sacrifice of a virgin child to be sacrificed to the god of spring.
Oh,
the dance is, if you see the choreography, the dance is jarring and it's disjointed, and
wow.
It's a very dramatic ballet to the point where when it was first premiered and conducted by Stravinsky himself, there was actually a riot. There was a riot against this kind of program because they were used to the Parisian and the French lyrical ballet and the lyrical music that accompanies ballet. And it was publicly disgraced, at least at the premiere.
Huh.
That's interesting. And what year was that? Do you?
Oh, I think 1912. I think that was. Okay,
so still like that, kind of around the Impressionist era in France in the salons in terms of visual art too, right? If I'm remembering correctly. So yeah,
exactly. This is coming out of something the lyrical and the sinuous and the beautiful, and you're using really harsh. This is like a high register clarinet that's really hard to play on clarinet. And it's a very new use of the orchestra that actually kind of made people upset.
Yeah.
Kind of dig this cosmic feel.
It reminds me of the Superman intro.
Yeah.
Except actually I was always scared as a kid because you can see that point. Where is it? Maybe not. Oh yeah, there's a point coming and the object's coming at you. And as a kid, I was always terrified. Like, am I floating through space and I'm gonna run into this?
Yeah. I do appreciate the way this animation takes its time. I mean, it gets to dinosaurs, which is pretty fantastical and everything, but it takes its time getting there, and then afterwards it takes its time fading back out too, and it's
letting the planet form, and
it gives you that geological sense of time, sort of.
Well, and even more important, I think this is why I had a much larger attention span as a kid, because I was used to this kind of animation and this slow pacing. And just listening to the music and all of that.
I do want to read Brian Gilmartin's comment. He said the hardest part of magic is knowing how to turn it off. Sound engraver.
Did I say that?
You may have said something like it.
He was tagging you. He might have
maybe he's just tagging you to tell you that. Either way.
Thank you, Troy. Thanks, Brian, for saying that. I love that red. Oh, I mean, it's freaky looking, but I do love that red.
And Agent Rumor said he had heard that most theaters wouldn't show this movie because Walt Disney insisted Fantasia be shown with stereo sound. I find that interesting because wasn't it Lucasfilm? I think it was Lucasfilm that one of the Star Wars films was done in digital, and you couldn't show it in theaters unless you had digital projectors, and that kind of pushed theaters to move towards that.
That is interesting. I really don't know how theaters do that, if they use a mono signal or they do the stereophonic. Well, now they do 5.1 surround sound, I think. But the stereo, I think, makes sense from an orchestra's perspective because you want to hear the strings up front and on the right or on the left, and the brass in the background and all that.
And that is how it works. I mean, when film innovates and creates new technology, the cinema, in order to show it, must keep up, or they will be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You were talking about the colors there and the red, and then especially the addition of the yellow and everything like that. And they did a good job. I mean, you picture the primordial ooze and what that phrase evokes, and that's pretty much it right there.
You know, as a kid, I have a very overactive imagination, and I was always terrified as a kid because I always put myself in that environment. Like, how would I survive in such an environment?
Yeah, I did that.
I can see why you would. Oh, go ahead, Al.
I look at this and for some reason, I'm thinking of like the last episode of Star Trek Next Generation, where Q and Picard are standing there right before the interaction of the ooze.
You kind of want a cameo, right? You want to see them in the background right now. But see, I can understand why you would say that, Sound Engraver, because at this point, if you have no sense of context, you don't realize, oh, wait a minute. We don't come on the scene just yet. We wouldn't be here to deal with this. This is showing me what came before.
It is freaky though with the music. I mean, that blaring brass right now, and these the lava coming out, you like tidal waves and crushing rock, and it does kind of, you know, give you an impression of why the artist chose these, you know, images. They saw this in the music, and that's what they put down, you know? Yeah, Al, that's also a good shot too. Well, you know, and actually, you know what I did? I remember if I was bothered by this as a kid, you know what I would just do? I would just go to Spielberg's Land Before Time, and it'd be all better.
Yeah. Era, different context. Yeah.
Yeah, you did come by this a lot later than a lot of us did, so you would have that to go to.
That was when was that? Early 80s? I can't remember.
It was about the same time for me because, like I said, it was a theater re-release that I saw this. So
yeah.
So, do you have a favorite sequence so far, Nanette?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I really liked the earlier portion with the snowflakes and all that, because that was just so pretty.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like each section's got its merits.
Mm-hmm.
This bit here, like you said, it's kind of scary. It's like, what is all this? What's happening? So this part kind of freaked me out, and it was kind of like, okay, it was also a little boring because it's like, okay, we're seeing weather, yay! It's like
that was me as a child.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy weather, but it's weather, yippee! You know,
that was. I wish that was my reaction as a kid. I was freaked out the whole time.
Plus, I really enjoyed the earlier portions with like the fairies dancing and the snowflakes and all that, because it was just so pretty.
Yeah, I love that music with the fall leaves and the snowflakes.
There was a phrase. There was a phrase a little bit earlier with muted trumpets. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, I know that phrase. That's been used in other films. Not the whole musical piece, just that phrase.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said muted trumpets.
The Imperial March?
No.
Where was? Oh, let's see.
I was kidding, Troy.
Well, but actually, I like that you said Imperial March because, you know, Williams got actually. Oh, that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Nanette. Williams got a lot of stuff from Stravinsky. Sure. So, like when 3PO and R2D2 are walking through that desert, that is straight out of Stravinsky.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh, I mean, he didn't, of course, copy his music, but
just influence
that tone color. Exactly.
See, I was thinking of the as R2's going through the Jawas.
Yes.
You said something earlier, Engraver. You talked, I think it was when the Sorcerer's Apprentice segment, you were talking about the French sound or whatever. You said it's very chromatic. what does that mean technically from a musical standpoint?
Oh yeah, I do use that a lot. So chromatic, you can think of chrome as a color, like monochromatic, just one color, or polychromatic as multiple colors. But chromatic, in the technical term for the music, is actually every single step of a 12-tone scale, a chromatic scale.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have the major key, we have the minor key. Those are 7 to 8 steps. But the chromatic, when you talk about chromatic, it's all 12 steps from one note to its octave. And so if you're using all of that and not the diatonic scale, like C major, for instance, it automatically gives you a denser feel.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But
Yeah,
you want
makes
to
sense.
see it as more abstract, like color. It's just a denser colors than just the traditional. I would say, it's denser than, the Bach piece we just heard. This is dense.
Definitely.
Now, Al,
I'm loving this piece.
Yeah. Now, Al, you love Bigfoot and Sasquatch, like the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So now I like this. I mean, they're kind of swimming and meeting each other, and it's like, oh hi, here's like my friends, here's my family. Let's have a little feast, and all that. And
do you like it?
And then it goes up to the dark.
I like the. I will admit. I've also liked the earlier period. Like the Cambrian, then the Devonian, like where all the weird little organisms are happening, the trilobites and things like that. Before things got really big. I think that's a very interesting period.
I love when these pterodactyls are swooping, and that's the winds going really quite up like that, and that's quite difficult as a clarinet player. From what I understand of wind playing, I'm thinking, man,
it almost sounds.
Oh, go ahead, Nanette.
It actually sounds kind of elegant. Yeah, sorry. It actually sounds kind of elegant, that little swoop in the music.
Yeah, and it's very hard.
But it does not equate to what's. Yeah, it's not equating though to what I'm seeing on the screen. It sounds pretty, and you're seeing them.
Yeah,
doing all this carnage.
A bigger predator.
Professor, I was thinking that earlier when we were seeing the fish, and the fish is swimming away from the larger fish, and then
Wisdom of Qui-Gon.
Well, and there's always a larger fish, right? So sometimes it behooves you to be the first one out of the pond.
Exactly.
And that creature that we saw that animated, I was like, oh, he can swim, but he also has legs to crawl on a log.
Well, there had to be a first animal that swam out of the water to walk up onto the land.
They're dimetrodons, right?
Yep.
Big fins. Yeah, I always like those. Those are cool.
You're monsters, man.
Ankylosaurus.
So we started with fire, and then we moved to water. Again. So then we've got the water animals. The sea creatures, as we saw, juxtaposed with air. Now we're in the jungle with herbivores versus carnivores. So just that cycle, or there's always something that follows.
Mm-hmm. Of course, and I think going back to what Troy said a while back with muted trumpets, this is the time in history where composers were exploring what different colors could be worked on and worked with the different instruments. And so you got mutes for trumpets and trombones. You've got ways to mute the French horn. You've got ways to work with the glottal and the tonguing and using very unusual colors. And I think for an animation like this is it's got a very, very. I personally don't feel like I'm a part of this world. I feel like this is really unusual.
Oh yeah,
Stegosaurus.
Don't get attached, Al.
That's my favorite dinosaur.
Is it really, Nanette? That's cute.
I always like the Stegosauruses were a lot tougher than they're made out to be. I mean, they got spikes on their tail, and they got armored plates that actually folded down.
Yep.
There's a book
actually
I read when I was a kid called The Shy Stegosaurus, and that
Yep.
became my favorite dinosaur after reading that book.
Oh, that's cute. I just think of Land Before Time. But there, I talked to a violin student of mine. I think it was yesterday or day before. I said, "What's your favorite dinosaur?" And he's like, "Stegosaurus." So, but which one do I like? I like the pterodactyl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fly.
A lot of people believe that the pterosaurs, skeletons were found by, Native North Americans, and that's what resulted in the legend of the Thunderbird.
Well, that is that's true in Greece too. Ancient Greece, they would find fossils of dinosaurs and they would try to put them together, not knowing they would put them together in the form of man, and that's where they got a lot of the myths of the Cyclops and the giants.
The giant, yeah.
Cyclops was actually, I think it was a rhinoceros, because you have the one big hole in the skull where the horn goes through, and they thought that was an eye socket.
Actually, they think mastodon or elephant because it's the nasal
Elephant. That's what it was. Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
I take that back. I take my answer back. Mastodon, I think, was the one I liked.
Yeah.
Actually, so I want to say, I think this is the movement. This really terrifying, where the brass are just they're screaming.
Yeah.
And this is a real horrifying animation. But I think this is the piece of music where they choose the girl and she's about to be sacrificed to the god.
Oh, I could see that. Okay.
And so it's just
That's right. Swing it, hit him.
Which
hit
is
it.
exactly
Come on, Peggy.
which
Go get
this
him,
kind of
Steggy.
brings up the same images though, right? You
Yeah.
still have the sacrifice. It's just
Struggle
this
for life.
sacrifice is fighting back.
Yeah.
right.
You think, oh well, that would have been too dark for Disney to show. Instead, we'll just show a character get eaten alive.
Hit him. Hit him.
As a child, I turned off the horrifying truths and I just pretended that the T-Rex put him to sleep. And then
There
you
you
felt
go.
bad that he did that.
So he was hugging him at the end, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. With the way things are portrayed, I think there's things that we should be protecting children from that we don't, but sometimes there's things that we should be exposing children to that we aren't. And I think this is a perfectly good life lesson.
See, he's just going to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Life, death, the dangers that exist in the world. Yeah, these are things we need to teach our children.
Yeah.
Of course, he's like bending down to start eating.
Well, no,
That's why they're panning up.
I know.
Right.
Good call, Nanette. Because as a kid, I was like, no, he's just bending down to talk to him.
Yeah.
Well, it's C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis had the great quote: "Since it's so likely that children will meet cruel enemies, let them at least have heard of brave knights and heroic courage." Put the dragons in the story, but to show that they can be conquered.
That's an excellent point. But you're right, Sound Engraver. He was leaning down to talk to him. He was saying, "Get in my belly."
No.
Now, this is the sequence that actually disturbs me the most. And as a kid, now here's the thing: there was nothing that could block my mind as a kid that stopped me from thinking, "Oh, those dinosaurs are gonna have a heat stroke and
Exactly.
and perish." And I even understanding that kind of primitive idea of survival as a kid, but the music is terrifying.
I never watching this, just prepping for tonight's rewatch. Again, because of my mind, I was more looking at towards the narrative of the story here for the dinosaurs and didn't really pay much attention to the music. But after you prefaced it with how disturbing it is, and I'm hearing it now, it's absolutely, I can see what you're saying.
And you can see the dinosaurs understand that they don't have water to go on, and it's just, ugh.
And
terrible.
if I was a parent watching this with my kids, I would probably be saying, and this is why it's important to prepare for difficult times, probably tell them the ant and the grasshopper story,
I would turn it off and pretend that they were just sleeping.
They didn't pass out. They're just taking a nap.
Yeah.
Let's watch Alice in Wonderland.
They're
I'll be
exhausted.
right back.
But that was I just mentioned Alice in Wonderland. One of the things that I noticed too while rewatching this earlier was how much Sound Engraver said this was in 1940. So how much you can see from the later movies that they took from this, not in the terms of like you can look at different Disney segments where they've got the Maid Marian's dance and Robin Hood is the exact same dance Snow White's doing, and with the dwarves. Right. Not in that sense, but in the sense of some of the looks of certain things and some of the influences, like with the mushrooms dancing earlier, you can see that in Alice in Wonderland 10 years later. Certainly with some other Peter Pan, I think there's some things with the fairies, and Tinkerbell and whatnot.
Well, because it's culture, right? I mean, even if it wasn't just Disney, I mean, people see these and they become part of their minds, mythology about fairies and so on and so forth. So you can't go and do your own story without being influenced by the stories that were told before or the visual representations or whatever.
Yeah.
Ooh, an eclipse.
Yeah, we're back to that same color of red that we started with. So that life-giving, primordial, chaotic, red from which life emerged. That's what's consuming the life in the end here.
Yeah, not at all disturbing vision for children to see bones strewn upon the wasteland.
And see, it was even more terrifying for me as a kid because I grew up in a literalist interpretation, fundamentalist Christian church where it was there's no such thing as evolution. Humans were right there with the dinosaurs at the time. So there was humans weren't around at that point. Right. I was right there. So
don't you just love that inhumane, terrifying sound that the French horn are making?
Yeah.
And then the water comes in and washes it all away.
Yeah, well, it's a cycle, right? Because that's what we saw first: the red, the fire, whatever, the heat, which was replaced by the water before life came again. So we're seeing the cycle repeat, even if we don't go all the way through it.
And now the dinosaurs are like, now it rains, we get water.
Yeah,
exactly. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos is a little mouse with a wizard hat.
I was going to say a boat with two of every kind of animal, but okay.
There you go.
That's where he got his water from, Al. He got it from the scene.
There you go.
Right.
So, Aged Boomer and Mr. Matchstick make a really good point. Now, of course, Williams was really inspired by Mars, the movement for Star Wars. And Agent Boomer also says, and I didn't know this, when they had the interviews with George Lucas on a Star Wars VHS release, they played Mars over the Star Wars clips, which makes total sense.
Huh.
Sorry, I've been not so active on the chat, guys.
I like Mr. Matchstick. Show skeletons. No, they're still sleeping. Dave Deister, me, Grimlock King.
What is Grimlock King?
Grimlock is the Dinobot.
Oh, more kaiju stuff.
I have to say,
it's a Transformer, dude.
Oh, I'm not Transformers. Whatever.
I'm reading the chat a little bit. Say, Sarah Torin Clegane talked about Land Before Time comforted you about like the absentee fathers, the dead mothers,
yeah,
prejudiced dinosaurs. But the thing is, Sarah overcame her prejudice after the journey with Littlefoot. So it's a very good story.
Now that we're intermission time, I shall take my own. I'll be back.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right, I could look at the chat. I actually don't know how long this intermission is. I think, is it really 15 minutes?
They usually are, I guess.
Let's see. I don't really want to. I don't think it's that. No, it's like.
It's a good time to catch up with chat. And,
it's 2 minutes long or something. It's not in 15 minutes. But yeah, let's check out the chat. Sorry, guys.
I haven't seen this movie in years.
What's that?
I think she's zapped out.
Oh, okay.
Well, then I'm going to take this 2 minutes to run to the bathroom myself. And I'm going to mute.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
This is what you would do, sitting in a symphony.
Fantasia.
Nowadays, in a symphony, at the intermission, you go out and get yourself a glass of wine. least here in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, if
Well,
it's longer than 15 minutes, then yeah, that is absolutely true. Oh, they're coming! Hurry, guys!
Yeah.
I'll let them pee.
He has to-
Don't wait, hold on! Don't say this kind of stuff on my channel.
People don't know that bodily functions happen at intermissions.
You could say, "May I be excused?"
Very excuse.
I can talk about going out to the lobby to get a glass of wine, but I can't talk about going pee, huh?
Oh my God, Sound Engraver, you're so freaking adorable. I should say freaking. So
No, you think I'm adorable in the most annoying way.
No.
I'm gonna watch the orchestra members.
Okay, everybody, they're not peeing. They went out to take a nap.
Okay, that one that was that big tall thing, that's a bassoon, right?
Yeah. So if you guys have any
Looks like
questions
a-
about the instruments,
Looks like a hookah pipe.
Oh gosh,
So, the bassoon.
those are the timpanis.
Oh, good. Well, you played in the brass section, didn't you, Troy?
I did pray. I was trombone, right? And I had a huge crush on the girl that played like all of the percussion.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I don't think that happens also in orchestra where people start like doing impromptu.
But usually
But-
not. No.
I think I remember this on this version.
Yeah.
I like the green yellow color and then the red color, and I just love the light and then the bass.
You know, this was. I'm just speculating, spitballing here, but I'm guessing this was probably thrown in there because jazz was so popular at the time, and it was
Yeah.
like, you know what? We're playing to the masses. Let's do something fun. Oh! The boss is here. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the narrative. Oh, this is a good one. I love this guy. This upcoming character. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he's cool.
Now, as a kid, I thought he was like a sound wave, but he's called the soundtrack, which I would probably debate the title. But
Yeah, it reminded me of those retro screensavers that you used to get for your computer
oh yeah,
that would respond to sound.
Oh yeah.
I
Or
love.
you could
this-
actually.
I like that they use a line of light for this character because that's how we would visualize. Well, not actual sound or anything, but
No, but it is how you graphically represent it when you're doing editing, like in Audacity or something like that.
you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is true. And I like how he changes colors.
Yeah.
Do you remember the cartoon that had like it was a line and the line met a sphere and they were characters, but then the sphere got distracted by the squiggly line because he was all over the place. It was I forget what it was called, but it's so cute. But
That
then
is
the line learned to bend, and then he was able to twist himself, and then he made these beautiful things and won over the sphere.
So change
You know,
yourself.
that does sound
That's the lesson.
familiar. No, that does sound familiar.
I love that every instrument has its own design.
It does sound familiar.
Mm-hmm.
You should know what it's called, Al.
I'm sorry. I'm keeping my microphone away from my mouth because I'm chewing.
I
pretzels.
don't.
On
Another thing
my
that's not allowed
channel.
on her channel, right?
Wow.
What he was describing, though, I don't think it's connected, but in my mind, it's become connected with Flat World. I don't think that's what it is, but I've associated those two things. But some little part of the back of my mind remembers what it is Al is talking about.
Well,
It's-
Disney. Oh, go ahead, Prof.
No, I was going to change subject. You go ahead.
Well, Disney did a lot of those cartoons with, or Looney Tunes also. Warner Brothers did
Mhm.
music notes and designs that depicted, inanimate ideas even to have
Yeah.
personalities in a story.
This reminds me of, I was talking about the screensaver, but I think there was something else. It was a program where you could put a CD in the computer and play your music. and then it would
Right.
react to your music like this.
It was a visualization for
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
So kind of speaking of synesthesia, it was I was always like, oh, I wonder what color my favorite song will be, or what patterns my favorite, this CD, or let's try Aerosmith. What color's Aerosmith?
That is actually a feature that's still available in what is it called? The Microsoft Player or whatever it's called.
Cool. I'll have to play with that.
So, what color is Aerosmith?
I think it was red, but I might just be conflating the cover of Permanent Vacation, which is one of my favorite albums. So I don't know.
Even before you said that, I was thinking exactly the same thing. And then you were
Try to
saying
find
what
the
I was
timestamp.
thinking.
It's like
Oh yeah. Let's see.
try,
112:30,
Oh my gosh.
112:32,
okay.
33,
Because
34.
yeah,
I
my
am perfectly
mine started
synced up
to
with you.
shut off, and it was like,
I love this one.
Yes, I love this one coming up. Now, I think the prof would really like this one because it's not absolute music. This is programmatic music.
Absolutely.
Beethoven did write it for, the fields and the pastoral life and the farm life, but to have that mythological element to it that Disney put in, I'm sure you liked it a lot.
Well, pastoral, I don't know if it's the same with pastoral music, but pastoral poems were usually quite often had either fairy tale or religious connotations, in that pastoral setting. So something mythological like this. But what I love about this one is how it kind of takes you through the stages of life. And it's nice that this one comes one or two before the Bald Mountain one, because it's the same kind of getting us closer to that very specific theme of the calm after the storm, or the life after the darkness and such.
I like that that's the running theme of this because, I never really made it up tonight on Bald Mountain as a kid because I thought that was the last sequence as a kid. I didn't know Ave Maria was after that. And now, actually, this Symphony Number 6 by Beethoven, that it is called the Pastoral Symphony.
Okay.
And I think that's a specific name, Aroka Symphony. What's his other famous symphony? Well, all his symphonies are famous,
Ninth.
but the ninth, but I think I'm blanking on the titles of his others. But yeah, I love the mythical element.
And we start out with the infantile characters, the unicorns, the satyrs. These are very children. And then they move into the centaurs, which are of age where they're coupling up and falling in love and
Which is ironic when you consider the role of satyrs in mythology.
Well, not so much, though. You're right, because the satyrs were mythologically very licentious, whatever. But what is that? That's given to your primal urges or whatever.
True,
so
true,
children, not coming up to that certain urges yet, but still
The
the
lack
same
of
kind
maturity.
of... Yeah.
Or civility.
That cartoon I was talking about is The Dot in the Line, a romance in lower mathematics.
That is awesome.
That's a great name.
I posted it on our chat.
Cool.
And ever since the 80s now, I can't see this segment without thinking of Uni from Dungeons and Dragons.
I think of Pegasus from Hercules, Disney's Hercules.
Are you sure that's not Pegasus from the gas station? What does it represent, Professor?
You know what, Troy? You know what, Al?
Before Allie has a chance to say it.
Nothing at all. I said nothing.
This is the only time probably besides your recent rewatch that you can talk about Pegasus and references and stuff.
Right.
Yep.
Now, actually, I've played this in an orchestra, and it's a beautiful, fun symphony. I was a second violinist, which, a lot of people say, well, first violin's better and stuff like that. But you actually have to be somewhat of an athlete to play second violin because you're playing the lower notes where you have your arm much higher on the G and D string. And you're usually going with this accompaniment like a stream of water. And that's actually a lot harder physically than to do like a lyrical melody.
So what you're saying is you have an incredibly strong left arm.
I have incredible upper body strength. It is true. And I love the flight of these Pegasus that go over the clouds with the dynamics.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking, Professor was talking about, maturity, and you're seeing the two adults here, very graceful and, in syncopation. Whereas, the children behind them are just struggling, trying, keeping his head up, trying to imitate daddy, but just as children do.
Yeah. And that's before we get to the centaurs, who are of an age without parental supervision, except for the little cupids. But I'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, I like that they become swans in the water, basically.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. And I just love the background. All these backgrounds are like painting. I mean, from all these sequences.
Mm-hmm.
You were also talking in the last segment about the transition from fire to water and air and so forth. Here you have creatures that appear to be equally at home in the sky, on the land, and in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, they're having so much fun.
Cannonball.
As you do as a child.
Or as a dad.
And of course, if you watch Clash of the Titans, Calibos kills them all.
Oh gosh.
Wow. Let's say positive paragon of positivity, Al.
And then he puts them all to sleep for a little while.
Yeah.
It's such a happy thought there.
Oh, I love that shot. I just love those colors.
And I love that we're doing growth here with the centaurs, because they're older and they're to the point where they're meeting the opposite sex and falling in love and that kind of thing. But they are in turn led by the cupids, which are these little infantile beings. And it's the idea of you grow and you mature, but no matter how old or how mature you are, at some point that because cupids are the god, Eros was the god of love, and even though they're depicted in plurality here, it's still like, how mature are you? How old are you, or whatever? Yeah, well, here's some immature impulses with love to go along with that.
True.
It's worth mentioning also musically that these are 4 sequences in this animation right here for the 4 movements. So we're in the second movement, Andante movement. It's a lot more song-like, which is perfect for youth falling in love.
Mm-hmm. This is reminiscent of the mermaid scene
by a whole bunch of little
Pan.
cupids.
I like doing her nails with a little cat. What are these things called?
Yeah.
Cattail. Yeah.
Cattail.
Pussy Willow.
No, Pussy Willow is different.
I like the difference in color and animation, but also even music there between the female and male centaurs.
I do like Disney matching up the colors though, so that the boy and girl centaurs would match.
Yeah.
Nope.
Somebody
that's
for everybody.
segregation. That's bad.
It goes back to Socrates, that theme of
there's another half to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Now that always bothered me.
I was thinking the same thing.
He's tearing the bark off a birch tree, and that birch tree now is going to die.
Well, I thought it was the atrocious hat. I thought that's what you were going to say.
I thought that was going to be the thing.
Oh no, I dig it as a hat. It's just that, I was in Cub Scouts, and they said you never do that to a birch tree, because if you tear it all the way around, you've just girded the tree, and now it's going to die because the water doesn't flow.
Maybe it'll just fall asleep.
Well, it'll fall over. It absolutely will do that. Yes.
I still like that they walk like humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I saw them as kind of prancing like horses, but okay.
But I
don't
must
think
say,
along
I need to know: are their hair real?
Not
all
only are their
animated.
hair
Sorry,
is their
it's
hair
all
real,
animated.
but
Yeah. It's all animated.
their tails are real too.
I like how the tails are matched there, the hair on the top of the head.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Yay. I like how she has to kick it because it's
Kicks
so
it,
long.
yeah, because it's so long.
And I just like harmonious colors, you know. He's a blue skinned boy with a blue skinned girl. You know, it's just
Which is weird because then you start thinking brother and sister.
don't what
Too late.
Troy.
The symbolism, of course, is that kindred spirits will find each other.
like autumn and winter and
Mhm.
all of that good stuff.
See, the bad thing is Troy's downstairs and I'm upstairs, so I can't smack him.
Save it up for later, Nanette.
Yeah, I'll remind you.
You watch this, you almost want to be a centaur.
Oh, here we go again, Al.
I mean, think about it. You're in a beautiful
on.
place.
Uh-huh.
It's the colors are beautiful, flowers are beautiful. You got a hot little centaur babe on your arm. Come on,
You can't sit in a chair. You can't drive a car.
who needs
They
it?
run
You
really
got a
fast.
hot centaur babe. And you got little cupids around you, covering you with flowers.
That centaur is my favorite. On the swing.
Oh yeah.
She looks like she's having fun.
Yeah. Actually, I like the blue one though too because I like the length of it. And there's a lonely centaur.
Poor lonely centaur.
Wait, what happened to Blue Me?
You were busy doing something else.
You're busy
was
doing a
with the other
stream.
blue-
What?
Oh yeah, she that was when they were
One of
showcasing.
the blue guys. Were there two blue guys?
Yeah, there's another one. They're gonna. Here we go.
This is the one with the pigtails.
It's the blue one with the long hair already got matched up with another blue one. This is.
Now, I think this animated sequence is about 20 minutes. The symphony is about 47 minutes, I think. So they're not doing
wow.
all the symphony of this. And they, of course, they couldn't for film, the duration of the film. But things like Mussorgsky and the Sorcerer's Apprentice and also the ballet coming up, that's all the original length.
And the flowers that the women are wearing, those are called the Hays Code garlands.
Not necessarily. They didn't even have them to begin with. I think they can get away with it because they're mythological animation. I think they can. Wolfton Media is around. Hey, Wolfton Media.
Hey, Wolfton. I'm sorry I can't see the chat from my watching the film, but welcome. I'll definitely look at the chat when they play Mussorgsky because it's nighttime. I'm by myself. I'm probably gonna skip some of that stuff.
I'll have some things to say about that.
I'll watch your turn of Bach album.
It's from a mythological standpoint. There's some cool stuff going on, but yeah, it can be disturbing. I think it's hilarious that the Cupid's butt becomes a heart.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
Now we're in the third movement of the 4 movement 70s, and this is usually the allegretto or the prancing. It's not the finale. It's not it's not vivace, which is usually
Now I
quite
know
fast.
that's supposed to be wine, but it's such a light pink. It looks more like strawberry Kool-Aid.
Well, the symbolism, I think, is that now we've gone from childhood to coupling, and now it's the wedding feast or whatever, the celebrations of passages of rites of passage, rather.
Yeah.
Right.
And Troy, it's a rosé.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is when we get our Bacchus, who's really more of a Silenus, but it's Bacchus.
Can you clarify those terms? Because I'm not really familiar with those terms.
Yeah, Bacchus is the Greek god of wine. Dionysus, the Bacchus is the Roman term. And he was actually a little bit more of a visceral character. But see, he was raised by Silenus, who was a big, fat, dopey, happy drunk who rode a donkey. And Bacchus was a little bit, the actual real Dionysus was probably a bit much for a Disney cartoon. So they they call him Bacchus, but they made him basically Silenus. Interesting thing about Silenus, though, is when he was drunk, and he was always drunk, he was able to utter wisdom and predict the future and stuff.
Oh, interesting. that horn donkey always bothered me. I just didn't want that horn on his head.
It does look a lot of place.
It's kind of unique. I don't think I've ever seen a unicorn donkey anywhere else but here.
Interesting.
We call him a donkey corn.
Donkey corn.
But have you ever seen a donkey fly?
But yeah, so Bacchus is there for that celebration, rite of passage. You know, you have to be old enough to drink the wine and so forth. And I think it's funny that Bacchus is the source of their happiness celebration here. You know, that's when he shows up, and he's the one that Zeus goes after when the storm comes. Meaning that, you know, storms are, you know, will target your happiness in life. You know,
Rain on your parade, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Quite literally.
I do love that Disney really took the time to do different colors of these characters.
Mm-hmm. And there was even they cut it out now, but they didn't cut it out the first time they did the censoring. Bacchus is supposed to lead in nubile zebra centaurs. And if memory serves, I don't think they were racially over the top or anything. I think they were just, you know.
Real quick, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the controversy of this film, but a lot there were 4 things edited out before 1991, and actually I think it was before 1963. So the controversial images actually were taken down, I think, in the 60s.
Okay.
And that there were the people introducing Bacchus and the ladies with the zebras. And I can understand if that might be annoying to people. I love how that girl whips herself.
I love that we got Zeus and Hephaestus. I know Al likes Hephaestus.
I love Hephaestus.
But Zeus is supposed to be. You can go too deep with it, but Zeus is supposed to be, you know, the father of all the gods, and even though he's the god of storms, he's also supposed to be benevolent when he's not womanizing and whatnot. But because he's the source of the storm, and that you see there, he's targeting Bacchus. I just think it's an interesting juxtaposition. I'm stopping myself before I go too deep.
This soundtrack isn't exaggerated. This is the symphony, as you would hear it. Yeah. I think this is amazing that they put this animation there, because the lightning strikes, it's all part of the timpani and the bass and all of that. I love this centaur at saving this unicorn.
Yeah. Poor thing. So the storm comes and seemingly ruins everything, right? No more celebration. You can't even imagine a world that could come after this. You know, that's the idea.
I love this. The mother.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So when she rescued her little centaur, or her little centaur there. It's like she looked back, as I say, "You big meanie."
Yeah. That little glance. Now, would that be Boreas, the god of the wind there?
You and Troy are and Al too. I don't know any of these characters' names.
It could be Boreas. It could be another.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who's the one that gave the north wind to Odysseus?
I'd have to look it up. It's not coming to me right now.
I just love to say that I still how his little outfit is still pretty white. It should be red now.
True. And the storms will tire themselves out. I do like that Apollo is shown as the god of the day in conjunction with Hephaestus, or no, Morpheus is the god of the night, because Morpheus was more of a chthonic god, more of a primal, chaotic god, whereas Apollo was more of a logical, one of the later gods who was more civilized. And it's like that idea that day is more civilized than night, you know, or the storm, at least, you know.
And that bed looks comfortable.
The cloud, yeah.
So that's the beginning of the finale, and then this is kind of the it's like the epilogue of music. We're winding things down. One thing though about this animation, they should have done the French horn with that centaur with the horn. They did the clarinet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see why you say that. Yeah.
You were talking about how we're getting towards the end. It does not feel like it's been an hour and a half.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's really just like.
Yeah, that's. We still have 2 more sequences after this,
Yeah,
or 3 more, actually, 2 more if you include the Ave Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so happy. Everyone's happy that the storm has passed.
Mhm.
And my character's coming up. This was the character I wanted to be when I was the girl. Or when I was a kid, I was like, I want to be that one.
Yeah, I see it now. I completely
Iris.
forgotten her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Iris, the rainbow goddess in Greek myth. She's great. And she's very much akin to Apollo.
The day.
Yeah. God of the sun. Iris was also one of the messenger goddesses, just like Hermes, because the rainbow from heaven to earth, that kind of idea.
And I like that they include
You just drink the
these are
rainbow.
He just tasted the rainbow. That's right. Now
like
they're
how
somewhere over the rainbow.
the Pegasus children are the different colors of
Yeah.
of course yellow and blue and orange and all of that. I love them flying through the rainbow.
And the color filters of the rainbow too.
Yeah. This is kind of the pinnacle of the magic of Disney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really can tell it. I mean, even before computer animation, when everything was 2D, you could just tell the Disney difference. So the quality,
Mhm.
I can't draw like that.
Yeah.
And it's also why I love Don Bluth so much, because he kept it alive.
Oh,
that
yeah.
much
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah.
you
True.
know?
I love the chords of this with the sun and the chariots.
There's Apollo's chariot driving the sun across the sky.
I actually teared
What
up a
about-
little bit when I saw this last week.
Oh yeah.
Why not Helios?
Well, Apollos is a
It's like
is a Christ analog in a sense. He's the son of God, son of Zeus. There to bring a light to mankind. One of the many Greek sort of analogs for a Christ-like character.
Although now you got me thinking of Uhura saying, it's not the sun up in the sky, it's the son of God.
Now you've got goddess of night here. I guess you could say. I think we see Athena or Artemis at some point. I think, don't we?
Yeah, there's a
Star bow.
still of Artemis with the arrow.
Aw.
And the father just keeping watch. I love that little detail that he slowly moves his hoof.
Mm-hmm. Alert, yeah.
I kind of wish I had a cloud for a bed.
That is cool. I forgot about the crescent moon with the bow there.
I mean, just a beautiful animation that just fits the symphony perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really well done.
I want to live there.
You want to be a centaur.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a ballet coming up. And I'm actually not familiar with this composer. I'm familiar with the piece. But Ponchielli, he's an Italian operatic composer. And his opera debuted or premiered between Verdi's iconic operas. So he was going between some great operas at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the this ballet in the third act that's coming up is pretty famous. And every animal is a representation of the time of day. So the ostriches, they're I can't say that word correctly. Ostriches, the dawn.
Mm-hmm.
The hippos are the afternoon. The elephants are the evening, and the alligators are night.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I just like the juxtaposition of the alligator and the hippo, and the fact that the alligator truly is just in love with the hippo. It's actually not trying to eat it, the main one anyway there, except there's this primal fear that the hippos have of the alligators.
Yeah.
And I think that's you can see that as a little bit of a difference between men and women, and there's a fear as at the same time there's the attraction or draw, and stuff.
Well, we just also came out of these predatory dinosaurs. So you
Exactly.
wonder if that's going to happen in this act too.
Yep.
He just wants to give her a hug.
Do you guys recognize those of you who've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Do you recognize the lead ostrich there? Upanova, I think is her name, Madame Upanova. She was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. She brush past Eddie in Toontown and looked very haughty at him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the personalities of ballet dancers, but prima donnas, of course, they're known for, being haughty like that. And
See, it was my understanding that all of these ostriches here were just recasts of the Gallimimus from the dinosaur segment.
Now, again, she's the prima donna, and you can see that because she has her unique color.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is blue. She's pink. And she's fanning herself. That's very prima donna. She's fanning herself for her own body part.
Now, I remember reading somewhere or seeing a behind the scenes kind of thing segment on this. The illustrators had real humans doing the dances that they were using as movement references.
They would do that a lot in different movies, yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is not something that could be rotoscoped because they're not that anthropomorphic, but the basic movements.
Didn't they bring in animals from zoos just to understand the
I don't
anatomy?
know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
If you watch what's it called? The Reluctant Dragon. That's a story by the same guy who wrote Wind in the Willows, Graham Wilson. And The Reluctant Dragon is a Disney movie, actually takes you behind the scenes of the Disney studio and shows you they actually had elephants in there trying to draw them and stuff like that. And it's a fun movie.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Hello, Mata. Hello, Fada.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Camp Granada.
Now, actually, Troy, it could be me, but you sound kind of low.
No, I'm very happy.
No.
Whoops.
You just sounded distant when you were
Yeah,
talking.
no, I think I had just pulled a plug and does that sound better?
It's much better.
Okay, yeah.
And how are you, Nanette?
Are we
Silence.
getting sound from you, Netter? Okay,
How about
good.
yourself?
Okay.
Well, it's like I had to not look at the screen for a while because my toes hurt watching them do that.
Oh,
But now here's a hippo, so it's all good.
She definitely
Very graceful
demonstrates
for a hippo.
the voluptuousness. I'm sorry, when people say she's not big, she's voluptuous, I'm sorry. Like every time I hear that word, I'm like, you're just being polite.
yeah. Voluptuous sounds large. The word does.
Rubenesque.
A Renaissance woman.
She's full-bodied. There you go, Rubenesque.
We're looking at one of the most dangerous animals in Africa.
Yeah.
Seriously, they kill like 500 people a year.
Yeah. And in reality, because of that, would alligators or crocodiles really really try and prey on a hippo?
I don't know. If anything, it would they'd have to be faster then, or
Yeah.
the hippo would have to be unsuspecting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think hippos are as slow as we think they are.
They're
Not
not.
underwater. Yeah.
They are incredibly fast over short distances, and no, it's
They-
very unlikely that a single croc could take down or alligator could take down a.
And they are temperamental little buggers too.
Now again, she's the prima donna, so her color is yellow, and everyone else is pink,
Oh, okay. Yeah. The slippers. Yeah. Gotcha.
and her also little.
Well,
titty
it's
there.
it's hard to see because it's so diffuse, but yeah, the skirts.
Oh, there is. It is some of it. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Now the elephants. I don't think they have a prima donna for the elephants. The elephants are just doing their own thing, and the elephants are the evening. And I love their music. Like a little bit of minor, going from major to minor because the sun is setting. They're being mysterious.
Mysterious. I like that they
They're so
have to wait
cute.
until their cue. Yeah.
Elephants,
And their
I think
eyes.
they're what?
Their eyes are just so cute.
Like their faces.
Yeah,
Luscious
they're adorable.
eyelashes.
I think my mom still likes them as her favorite animals, but I know as a kid we had little glass elephants and
Oh, nice.
she had a little elephant motif on the piano, and
Oh, cool.
I think just one or two. And they're very quiet creatures for such
Mhm.
such large animals.
Mhm.
Yeah, you learn about them in the wild. They're actually pretty fascinating. They're very
It's written in the
civilized and
script.
familial to each other.
Oh yeah, Nanette, you're right. They are quite quiet, and I like their dance outfit, the bubbles they're making. But there's no one solitary color. They're all as a group.
Now, was Dumbo before this or after this? I can't remember. I think after. So the pink elephants with the bubbles and when Dumbo's drunk. I'm wondering if that's an inspiration
I
here.
remember that animation.
Yep.
I might even look that up on YouTube. I remember being
That you know
Say
what you might even have to do a study on the iconography of the pink elephant, because I'm not sure if the image of the pink elephant to drunkenness correlation predates Dumbo, or if Dumbo literally brought that into
Mhm.
the consciousness.
Yeah.
I love how this somewhat looking gentle breeze is just blowing them away.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then, of course, it's introducing the night hours, which is my
Yep.
favorite. I love these alligators. They're
Mhm.
so comfortable, and they're the men. They're the barons. They're the
Mhm.
the male love interest. Don Giovanni. Is it Don Quixote? Is that the male lover? Is that his-
Oh, you mean
Don Juan.
Don Juan.
Don Juan.
Yeah.
and Cyrano de Bergerac?
Yeah, that's right. Now,
I like
while
how
they're
they're
doing this,
trying to pull that little tutu down over his tushy.
yeah, they're crawling down the pillars
Mhm. Yeah.
with the red
Why is it-
capes.
Reminds me of Randall from Monsters Incorporated.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Same movement.
Oh, evil Randall.
He got his though.
True. His comeuppance is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Now, I like how the main, tenor or baron of the group, he has the feather on his hat.
hmm
Well, do they too?
No, they just have the cloaks that
Right.
poke up.
So he's again got the distinctive outfit,
hmm
and he's stalking her like he's about to eat her,
Uh-huh.
but he just looks at her face and
Oh, the jokes
falls
to be
in
made.
love.
That's what I like. It's like it is that sort of predatory thing, but it's they're putting it in a different context, which says something about the context. It's just pretty cool.
And she's playing coy.
hmm / terrified.
Well, clear, but what I love is it's still clearly a ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was
I've had
I
the
gotcha.
time of my life.
now I think this is based on a French grand opera, but I think this 10-minute sequence is only ballet. I don't think there are singers involved.
Mhm.
But I haven't seen the opera, so I don't know.
I'm sorry. This is kind of like 3 degrees removed, but Al started singing the song from Dirty Dancing.
Right.
And it just reminded me, you guys have all seen the commercial with He-Man and Skeletor doing the Dirty Dancing, right?
Yes.
Epic.
I have to see that.
Oh, I'll have to share it with you. It's so good. It's so funny.
Of course, I'm looking at this crocodile, and I'm thinking that one Sesame Street thing. Was it like the King of Eights, who had 8 sons and?
Oh, right.
Oh, Seven Son song.
Son. Okay, yeah.
I'm getting Pepe Le Pew vibe, actually.
Oh, yeah.
This is the finale of the whole ballet.
Said the Alligator King to his 7 sons. Yeah, I remember that.
I think even though we start out with the ostrich, I think the female hippo's the star.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I always think they're like running like football players away.
Yeah. The team.
And so the men want their share of the female dancers, of course.
This is another piece of music you hear all over the place.
I never played this in an orchestra, but it would probably be really fun to play. And that's actually typical when the finale comes, the whole cast comes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think the elephants are my favorite. They look like they have the most fun.
Get down! Get down from there.
I like that it's the hippos twirling the gators instead of the other way around.
Now he's showing his athletic prowess. His face at the very end reminds me of Donald Duck.
Yeah, that little look. You're right.
And now we come to the terrifying one.
It's very Dante-esque.
Yeah.
I like a lot of aspects of it, but yeah, it's terrifying.
Animation is beautiful. It's just creepy. But I did play this in an orchestra, and like this again, I'm going to make a case that art is objective because as a Christian, this is really disturbing. This is it's based on the Witches' Sabbath, the program, but this is a masterpiece. This is really good, and I hate saying this, but this piece is fun to play.
It's a great piece, yeah. So technically, Chernobog, I mean, he's a stand-in for Satan. Basically, he is supposed to be that kind of ruler, but Chernobog was a Slavic deity of the night, and then they kind of conflated that with certain South American back gods and stuff like that to get that look. But it's supposed to be Walpurgis night, and that was, of course, Saint Walpurgis was known for combating witchcraft and paganism and whatnot. So on the eve of the feast day of Saint Walpurgis, which would be Saint Walpurgis night, that's when the people would burn fires or whatever to ward away witches. It became a superstition and whatnot, and that's why that night became sort of like a Halloween type of night, where people, all these superstitions surrounded it. But
which is why I always associated this leading directly into Ave Maria, the Christianity driving out the paganism.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a man.
And he is acting here very much like Satan in Dante's Inferno. Now, that's not theologically correct, of course. It's just mythology. Right. Satan doesn't rule hell or anything like that, or in charge of torment or anything. But that's what goes on in Dante, and this is what he does here, especially when he resurrects like the thieves and whatnot and puts them through the gallows and such, and like here, and then you've got the fire dancers that come up. We'll talk about that too.
I like that imagery, how you see these skeletal specters rising up and going through the noose, indicating that's where they came from, and they're going back through it to come back into the real world.
Yeah, that's and you know that you got the really creepy chromatic slides on the strings that are going really high.
Mm-hmm. And calling forth the you got the witches, the actual witches there.
I mean, I do like that motive. It's kind of a shame. Mussorgsky really believed in this project, and he just a couple conductors or composers didn't take his work seriously. And I don't think it was ever performed in his life. And of course, it doesn't get as famous until the 1940s.
Yeah, that is a shame. This is almost very, well, you know, I think it comes from, like I said, Chernobog, a Slavic deity, because some of these imagery is something that you would see in a lot of Orthodox Christian paintings and whatnot of you know, Christianity overcoming paganism and such.
I want to welcome Gavin Peters. I think you've been on my stream a couple times. And Wolf 10 did come, and Casey Scott.
I like too that Chernobog is very much a part of the mountain. You know, he was disguised as it with the wings around him. But again, that's too coming from that chthonic. In chthonic, that's the same word that you get Cthulhu from. It's the idea of primal, from chaos, like before logic and civilization and stuff like that. So the opposite is the Uranian gods, which are of the sky, the sun. So here we've got these chthonic looking pagans. And then you've got when Christianity, when the monks come in carrying the lanterns, that's from the sun. That's bringing the sun forth, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Into
Absolutely.
the pit.
But when he picks them up, they look like ants to me. You know, they remind me of ants, like red ants and black ants, and then he throws them into the fire. It's like, yeah, like any kid would do.
Now here's the fire dancers looking very sort of seductive and whatnot at first. So you get the think of like the 7 deadly sins. You've got lust and pride and vanity and such, and then he turns them basically into a bunch of donkeys and so forth. So it's very Dante-like, that kind of punishment stuff that you see. Torments fitting the sins that they were responsible for or whatever.
And you know, you don't. I mean, I certainly didn't get that as a kid.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know what kids have a harder time grasping what sin is, and and all.
Oh yeah.
Well, but there is a simpler way to look at it that comes across very viscerally. You got all the scary, you know, and devil, evil, bad, scary. That communicates it well enough for a child.
Yeah, and that raises a good point. I really do like that. They depict evil the way evil ought to be depicted. You know, horrifying, and scary, and
it's not glorifying it or glorying in it. Yeah.
And it goes back to that motive. Yeah, I won't. I'll try to catch up with the orchestra this time, guys.
No, it's the dance, and as they're dancing around, yeah. I definitely see shades of Maleficent in that face that wouldn't come until the 60s.
Yeah. She's also terrifying as a villain.
Yeah, definitely. She was the big villain in the first Kingdom Keeper book, and that was terrifying. This green face poking into the tent they were hiding in.
Oh man, you maybe not want to go to this.
It's just a book series.
Now we just had the Harpies, which is also from Greek mythology. Is the Harpies?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there are versions in Celtic and whatnot too, but they were often also chthonic. Often the Furies. They were the ones who demanded justice, demanded blood for blood and stuff like that.
Now, being in an orchestra with a piece like this and then just hearing that chime is quite nice.
So the bell is interrupting him. That's the Angelus bell. Right. That would call. So in the liturgy of the hours, there are certain times of the day you pray certain prayers, and the Angelus bell would call them to the Angelus, which is the morning prayer, which is basically reciting the certain words that were said to Mary. So the first, it's called Angelus because it was the angel appeared to Mary and said, Hail Mary, full of grace, and told her about bearing Jesus. So you got that idea that bringing the light, you get at the very start of the story like that.
Yeah.
So it's the coming of the sun, but it's also the coming of the sun. It's quite literally here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to see that cap it off, and then of course see the dead going back to where they
Poor
had to
Sherlock.
go. And beautiful music, very somber, and you can hear the kind of the high strings kind of lilting and dropping down and sighing. And then it actually, even with the scary images, it goes into this beautiful major chord because it's the coming of the dawn. You can even see the light of this image, a little bit of the dawn coming even as these specters are going down.
Well, Tim Media's giving me a hard time. Oh, I didn't know we had the Bible geek in here. Hey, it's relevant.
Well, Sound Engraver is Christian, so
There you
and
go.
this is pretty.
And I'm a Catholic as well. Although I kind of like have fun with
I'm
it.
a recovering Catholic.
I do like that he kind of folds himself in and becomes a mountain.
Yeah.
Which
Go sleep now.
is in keeping with so many areas of mythology, the trolls and whatnot that turn to stone in the light.
The actual gargoyles.
Yeah.
I have to say, Disney Gargoyles, man.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Such a classic.
Protectors of the night.
That mountain looks so peaceful and pretty.
Yeah.
In light it does,
as it's morphing into these, religious people, going in with candles and all of that. Now, Ave Maria, I have to check the instrumentation. I think it is piano and soprano. I know it's soprano, but they're doing a chorus. Like Disney's doing this kind of chorus that kind of sounds like, I don't know, it sounds like Lady and the Tramp, the intro to Lady and the Tramp. It's not the original instrumentation of the song. Are you falling asleep there?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was asking Al if he's moved where he's falling asleep.
Oh.
No, I'm just watching, enjoying.
I like that these monks, the Angelus Bell is supposed to be a church or whatever, but even though we have things that look like a church, like that bridge right there, that's actually a bridge. It's not a cathedral. And then when they go through what looks like the hallway of a cathedral, it ends up being more like the woods itself. So it's kind of like sung throughout creation rather than just a building, and
I like how the reflection is brighter
in the water.
Yeah.
So the same. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say I love these very thin trees.
Yeah.
Almost like they would be part of an outdoor cathedral.
Well, look at the peaks, the little domes they make. They're the windows, the stained glass windows.
Yeah, but I will say I don't think Bob Ross would appreciate those skinny little trees. He'd have to flesh them out a little bit.
They would be happy little trees.
They'd be happy little trees.
I love
And that's where they live.
And this is the outdoors. It's the same outdoors that we just saw Trinabog holding sway over. The mountain and such like that. But it's a redemption of the setting. So it's not just that the light comes in after the darkness, like you have to go find the light. It's the light comes into the same place and redeems it.
Yeah. I mean, does it redeem it until that next St. John's Eve or whatever that day is?
Walpurgis? Is that what we're talking about?
I always thought that the Trinabog was like that one day of the year, kind of like Halloween.
Walpurgisnacht, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't notice those window-like structures that the trees are making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is their cathedral. This is their church.
I shared with you about how I first heard.
Oh, can you speak up a little bit more?
Yeah, I had shared with you how I had first come to hear this music. This of course, is the one exception. Growing up in the Catholic Church, obviously, I was aware of Ave Maria before I heard any of these other tunes. And that's, of course, tied up with all kinds of emotion. They played Ave Maria at my grandfather's funeral. So,
Man.
yeah.
And this isn't the end. Now we kind of do walk into an actual structure of some kind.
I still can't decide. Is it really a structure? Because at the end, it looks like they're just coming out of a row of trees, but it might be that they're leaving. I don't know. I can't tell.
I feel like you're in a building coming out into new scenic.
Keep in mind that the cathedral was really meant to draw your eyes to heaven, the same way those trees are, the same way this imagery does. So it doesn't really matter. Either way, the symbolism is the same.
It's such a gorgeous melody, and it's difficult to play.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention when during the Chernobog, one of the when they were animating him, they were trying to get it all right. They didn't use any of him, but at one point they brought in Bela Lugosi to do some poses.
I didn't know that.
Chernobog. They didn't think it was working right. And I think it was actually the director who actually ended up being the reference for the movement. But man, having Bela Lugosi even being associated with it's kind of cool.
See, this is so beautiful, the scenery here.
Yeah.
All hand drawn.
And the music's gorgeous. Isn't this the first time we've had vocals in the film in all the pieces?
Yes.
I think so.
So they saved the chorus and the soloist for Ave Maria at the end, which I think is pretty fitting. And you don't really play Ave Maria as an orchestra. It's really organ and voice or piano and voice or a small intimate arrangement or chorus.
And it ends with the coming of the sun.
Awesome. I never got this far as a kid because I never wanted to get past. I never wanted to see Night on Bald Mountain as a kid. I don't think I was even allowed to. Well, at least with some people. And there it goes.
I kind of like that it just ends. We don't go back to the orchestra or anything, because that's like the perfect cap on the themes of the movie, Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome, guys. Thank you for watching this masterpiece.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And your themes too, guys. All different parts of the sequences. Yeah, so let's take a look at the chat. Just Casey Scott says Gargoyles, good cartoon right there. Yep. If you're thinking the same one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, Goliath.
Well, Tamia, so we need a netter speaking to the mic, dear, for Troy Pacelli.
See, the thing is, you'd have to have like a mixing board like Fan Man has.
Oh, the sound clip, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I get Age of Boomer. I hate to say, but the segment did kind of put me to sleep when I was a kid. I wanted to see more of the Devils and Spectres.
It makes sense.
They always did show this, like around Halloween as part of their, Halloween specials and whatnot.
Oh, so, yeah.
But they never took out Ave Maria. They always ended it with that. It's like, we'll give you the Halloween spookies, but we got to end on the up note.
Yeah, we probably did.
Halloween, but the next day is All Souls Day.
Exactly, yeah.
So Dumbo does come out after Fantasia, looks like.
Okay, cool.
So anyway, I'm sorry guys, this was a hard movie to get into the chat because you're just so engaged. So I hope you guys in the chat like that.
It's so visually stunning. Well, like we said during Forbidden Planet, there were the soundscapes, but this was like literally like colorscapes.
Yes.
Yes.
And anyone in the chat, are any of you a synesthete? Because it can come in different forms. Like you can see colors for numbers or colors for letters, and I see that too. But I've always seen design and colors for music and sound, and actually makes sight reading music easier for me. Because I'm like, oh, I'm seeing an F sharp, like a flash of fuchsia pink comes into the back of my mind's eye, So
That
there's
must that must be interesting. I mean, it's because I don't do that, so I'm just wondering what it would be like to actually have that happen.
You see,
I would
go
think
ahead.
I'd be having a stroke.
It's not as intense as that. So like you see black notes on a white page, but it's in the mind's eye, but it's a huge impression. So, some keys are bright, some keys are dark, and all of that. This is for you, Prof. Sound Engraver. I wasn't giving the geek shade. I was acknowledging spirituality.
I got him. We chatted.
So, yeah, if you guys have nothing more to say, I'm just kind of going through the chat. And yeah, thanks guys for being involved in the chat, even though I couldn't really get to you this time. This is a long feature. I know a lot of the rewatches go.
I forgot, but it doesn't feel that long though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it really does. And I still remember this. Like I said, some things when you're really into it, the time just goes by and suddenly it's over. And then you get the ones that just are ponderous. You're like, oh my God, this is supposed to be almost over. Or, oh my Lord, it's only been 10 minutes. I remember having that with the pilot, the Flash Gordon pilot on Sci-Fi. I was like going, this is never going to end. Oh my God, it's so terrible. It got better, but man, that first episode was horrid to get through.
Well, one thing I like about Fantasia is that it's 8 of these sequences, so and all of them are so unique. That's really fun to see.
Yeah, so you get the little sense of closure each time. It's like this little episodic adventure, so you don't feel like you're in the middle of one huge narrative that might lag a little bit at times.
And it was last week you were talking about, or maybe it was the week before that, you were talking about silence and the value of quiet and whatnot. This is a great study for it because there are moments of silence or relative silence, sometimes for long stretches, not hurrying, taking it slow, being contemplative.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also, this is music that spans 400 years.
That's true.
From Russia to German, Italian, more Russia. So we've got the French, the German, the Austrian, the Italian, a couple Russian composers. I'm trying to think. German with Schubert. So just a wide variety stretching over 100 years. So it's not versatile, but it's eclectic.
Don't forget there's a little splash of improvised American jazz thrown in there too. So.
That's right.
Yeah, that was nice. Now, Agent Boomer brings up a good question. I'm thinking about it. It would be down the road. Now, this Fantasia 2000, it's about an hour and 15 minutes long. I thought it was much longer, but they halved that time, and it's a lot of cool stuff too. A lot of good pieces. Pines of Rome by Respighi. You've got Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin. That's great. You've got the Firebird Suite, also by Stravinsky. In fact, there's probably going to be a part in that piece that really sounds like, oh yeah, that's what they did in Star Wars. So I definitely think to do that down the road.
What was the piece of music they did for the Donald Duck Noah's Ark one? Which one was that?
I don't know, because I saw the very end where Donald and Daisy Duck get, they are reunited, and they were doing Elgar's Pomp and Circumstance.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess could work.
I only saw it once when it came out, and then that was it. I didn't see it anymore.
The Rite of Spring. Oh, also Carnival of the Animals. The flamingo one is really funny. So I'm happy to do that one if you guys are interested, down the road. It's not long at all.
Absolutely. I only saw it. I literally only saw it when it was released in theaters. I have not seen it since.
I've never seen it personally.
It's a nice one. I was watching the sequence with the flying whales. Yes, there are flying whales, and I was looking at the animation, which was pretty good for its time, from what I know of animation. But I just felt like in the back of my mind, I felt like Troy is gonna nag about this, and I just couldn't help myself thinking that.
Wait, I'm gonna nag about what?
This animation. I just had this funny feeling you're gonna nag about this animation.
In Fantasia?
Fantasia 2000.
I might. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember it very well. So
Beethoven's Fifth is in it, and it's but they go through it really fast, much faster than these here, where they take the time with the animation. And I think there's some earlier versions of the computer generated, I think, with the Pines of Rome and the whales and stuff like that. So I as much as I like it, it doesn't have that classic feel for me, or it doesn't have I would say that even the magic. It has the creativity, probably the innovation, but probably not the heart, that love. I mean, probably, I don't know. I don't know when Disney went downhill, and I will never associate Mickey Mouse. I don't care what people say. I see a YouTube, when Disney makes a bad decision or something, and that they have this.
I hate that. Yes.
Shot of Mickey Mouse doing something.
Nope.
Disney or Mickey Mouse is not the symbol of the hegemon that is Disney now.
Exactly. That's like picturing Superman when America does something you don't like or whatever. No. He's above that.
Yeah.
He's his own person. He's his own character. So. Anyway, if you guys, did you have any comments before I started plugging things away?
Oh, what's interesting about Fantasia is that I'd forgotten some of the parts of it. I kind of remember the music when I heard it, and it brought back the memory. But it's I'd forgotten those parts until I started hearing them and seeing them. And I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I forgot this was in here, because you're so used to just like the Mickey Mouse portion, because that's the one that gets played up so much. The rest of them you don't hear about as much. Like whenever they're talking about Fantasia, they always talk about Mickey Mouse in the water. You don't really see the rest of it. So, there were portions that's like I totally forgotten about until I started hearing the music. I'm like, wait, that's familiar. Oh wait, yeah, I remember this,
Yeah, that's
so it was really kind of cool to see that and be reminded of that.
Mine's actually opposite to yours, Nanette, because I had watched these, until the tape was wearing off on the VCR. So I thought, well, that was like when I watched the movie last week in length, I was like, yeah, I remember all of this. And then actually, that's the thing, is when I actually played the music, I would think of these images that would happen. Like, oh yeah, the centaurs and the sugar plum fairies and all of that. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you could pick up on remembering, or pick up on what you had left off in your memory. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's like I remember like the centaurs and the Pegasus and all that. Besides Mickey, I'd forgotten some of the demon parts. I'd forgotten some of the crossing across the desert or wasteland part. I remembered part of it, but not like all of it, and like exactly what happened. That's why I was like, no, my Stegosaurus doesn't get killed.
Don't get attached.
The terror in his eyes, because he knows he's not going to make it.
But hey, you could put up a good fight.
He did.
That's right. That's right. That's cool. Yeah, I like that you guys have that kind of attachment, because Rite of Spring, it's a masterpiece, but it's always been one that disturbs me. And I actually, to be honest, I kind of blame Disney for that, because of the boiling lava. And it's with these adolescents, doing this jarring dancing. I was like, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah, even before you learn musically what's wrong, you can just kind of hear it. It's a dissonant, or it's almost like if someone says the red big truck and puts color before size. It's like your average person doesn't know that rule, but you hear it and you're like, you just know that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think I had a couple questions. Anyone else before plugging? Anything else?
Great rewatch. Thanks for having us.
We learned a
That was
lot.
fun with you guys. I just seeing that from my childhood and then talking about it, commentary, 25 or 30 years later. Well, not that long.
Well, what made it a little bit more interesting this time for me is hearing your commentary on the music and like the history in it, which gave it a whole different perspective for me. So now if I watch this again, I'll be like, oh, I remember Sound Engraver said this about this part and said this about this part, and that's going to stick with me.
Yeah. Yay! I'm slowly coming on to being like the professor, remembering these different things. Hard-boiled detective, only for music.
The Sound Engravers music class.
Yeah, exactly. So, thanks, guys. I'll definitely get pay a lot more attention to you guys in the chat. Thanks for watching along. I hope if it's your first time in the chat watching this, let me know. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It's a little older, but man, I'm starting to think that the 40s was really a good decade for film.
It really was.
Yeah. So, I know some of us have mornings, Sunday mornings that we have to get up. So let's go ahead and plug things away. We'll start first with Al. Go ahead with.
Well, I mean, do we want to go chronologically tomorrow night?
Yeah. I wanted you to do the Weeb Watch thing.
Well, there is the Weeble Watch, 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 the Weeble Watch. Ooh, woo, 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 watching anime.
And Troy, do you have your links ready?
I've got my links ready.
And I think they're watching something called Konosuba.
Konosuba. I bet I said it right. Right?
Konosuba. Hey, I think I got it right. On the Weeble Watch tomorrow at 10. Konosuba.
Right. So 10 p.m. Eastern on Mr. Matchstick's channel. Yes,
and then Monday night, somebody has something going on, I think.
So who started it? Was it Nanette or Al? It was one of you guys who started the Monday Night Muse.
Al. Al's the alliteration of the group.
Now, I will say, in all fairness, the professor kind of got the pieces, but I put them together.
Okay.
I think if we go back and look at the stream, we'll happen to see that I said Monday Night Muse, and then Al's like, it should totally be Monday Night Muse, and everybody's like, great job, Al.
I was looking up Monday Night Muse. I am going to give 95% of the credit to the professor.
Okay, that's good. Are you fine with that, Prof?
I think it's the best I'm going to get.
Cool. Yeah.
But see,
everybody in the stream and me and Troy all know that it was the Prof who came up with that.
I think I missed that.
So I know it was, but he was taking after me. And
you are the Edison to my Tesla, whatever.
That is really good.
I'll take the fame, and you can die in poverty. That's fine.
Like a real artist. So Monday Night Muse.
It was the professor. I fully admit, but it was a brilliant stroke of alliteration, which everybody knows is my wheelhouse.
Oh, okay. That's what you want to be known for, not so much the actual title. But no, I got up with that. Actually, I'll do something for you, Al. The one I liked was, the Electronic Empress.
Oh yeah, Electronic Empress.
There was another one too. Viscountess of Violin.
That's right.
Yeah, the Viscountess of Violin.
Yeah, so Mr. Matchstick says Al gets 100% of the credit, but we'll have to go to the stream. So.
Siren of the synthesizer or something.
Oh, wait.
Ooh.
Siren. You did use Siren for one of them.
Yeah.
The Siren of Synths.
Careful, don't get him started.
Oh, okay, let's move on. So I think so. We're going to start calling it. I like Coffee Break. I love those thumbnails, but those are for short videos. They're not for 2-hour videos. So we'll do Monday Night Muse because it's Monday night, and I hope to inspire you, get your creative juices flowing, all you artists out there. For my topic, I was thinking about it today. I do have a topic in mind, but I kind of want to do a commentary video, so that might be a couple weeks down. But I'm thinking of how to avoid perfectionism. Nothing?
Nice.
Oh,
That's
okay.
good. That's good. That's super important in art, whether writing music or whatever. You got to abandon that art at some point. That's great.
That's
See,
right.
I'm always concerned about that. That's why I embrace apathy.
That is not what I advise.
Oh, that's not what the topic is. Okay.
So you artists out there, especially you guys drawing and stuff like that, and illustrating and writing, it's very easy to be caught up in that, and there are ways to avoid it. So I'll probably talk about that this coming Monday. All right, now Tuesday we are going back to, well, not going back. We're continuing on screwball comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Lady Eve, and go ahead and Prof, take it away on that.
Yep.
Description.
Tuesday Night Classics. It's a classic screwball comedy. One of the, right up there with Bringing Up Baby. It's like one of the ones that gets mentioned first. Stars Barbara Stanwyck, who we recently saw as a femme fatale in Double Indemnity. So we get to see her be a screwball comedy heroine, and really good stuff by Preston Sturges
and Henry Fonda.
Henry Fonda, yeah.
Well, that will be fun, and that is 10, of course, Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm. 10 p.m. Eastern.
Very good. And we also have, of course, Fan Man's Second Cup Cafe, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11-ish, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah,
Just like the Fan Man.
Whatever.
Whatever.
it's kind of like that.
That was absolutely hilarious, your comment when you arrived the other night.
No, I was driving.
Late, but then I remember
was
it's the Fan
funny,
Man
yeah.
show.
Yeah, I was driving. I was like, man, I'm gonna be late to the Fan Man show, and I want to. It's like, oh wait, it's the Fan Man show. I've got 15 minutes.
That was awesome.
But your joke was you wanted to do a real intro now. That was pretty funny. He looked a little petrified for about.
He did. He had to check real quick.
So that is good. And of course, Thursdays, book study. We are starting. Bum, bum, bum. You take it away, Prof, since you're
Frank
here.
Herbert's Dune, the immortal Dune. We are starting that Thursdays. And as I said, at first 60-ish pages, I'm just going to take a picture. I think that's the easiest way because there's no chapter numbers and the breaks don't even have numbers.
The soft cover, it's up to page 72.
Yeah. The door stood ajar and Jessica stepped through it into the room with yellow walls. That's the first sentence where we're stopping. But I'll take a picture of that and post it in the Professor Geek Facebook group so everybody knows the exact page to stop on.
Cool. Yeah, very good. I mean, from the first half that I did read twice, Dune has just wonderful world building.
Yeah, really great example. Good to study.
And also, are you guys continuing on the Fan Man? Oh, what's it called? What's the show called?
Fan Man Tonight.
On Friday nights. That's continuing. I know that's going to stop September because you guys are doing film.
Yeah, he'll be starting his Friday Night Frights for Halloween. He's got a
but not this week.
Not this week. No, he's got starts in September.
Oh, yeah, that also starts in September. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Troy, what's going on? Well, first talk about the rewatch. What's rewatch next week?
Actually, I believe that's Al's week.
It's my week on Big Al Presents. We are going to be watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Excellent.
And I got to thank Troy, who has already done the poster image. So,
cool.
I don't know if the professor's seen it.
I haven't seen it. Why haven't I seen this yet? You got the bit
because it's a surprise.
Oh, you got to show me! I'm so excited.
I will just say
rewatch. It's up to him if he's going to show it to you or not.
Well, no, I'll tell him. I'll show him later.
Tease.
He's Troy is Bill. I'm Ted, and the The Professor's Rufus.
Rufus.
Of course.
Awesome. That is perfect.
Well, that's awesome. And 10 p.m. on your channel Saturday?
10 p.m. Saturday night.
Good. I'm sure you guys are going to have.
So I dropped all of those links, but I also dropped the professor's Facebook group. Highly recommend if you're going to be joining us for the book study. I've already dropped links to or dropped copies of the book in there for you.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
So that
Thank
you
for
don't
doing
even have
that.
to go out and get it. Just start reading.
And I just
Yeah.
want to remind everybody to make sure you do all those YouTube things for all of us. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, tell your friends. It helps our
Right.
algorithms. And that's the best thing you can do for us.
That is exactly why I dropped those links in there. Go do those things.
And of course, Netters Network. Of course. Any up and coming rewatches over there, or content? I'm cool with just content.
Let me see. Not for a couple weeks because the following week we'll be back on my channel for the follow up to Al's rewatch next week, which will be Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Most non-heinous.
Mhm.
Nice. Wow, you guys! I feel like you guys are gonna have so much fun with that.
Doing the build up to the release of Bill and Ted Face the Music, and God, I hope it's a decent film.
Well, hold on. Let's just be optimistic. We
Yes.
don't know.
Yes, we have no idea.
But I just want to say that even in the year 2020, those toddlers still look like boys. Okay, that's
Yep.
all I'll say.
Exactly.
There's Network.
All babies look like Winston Churchill. No.
Winston Churchill is adorable. He's so
Alyssa
cute.
didn't look like Winston Churchill. She had those big brown eyes right from the get-go.
Well, there were two of us out when we came out, and so we were really scrawny, and we looked like old people, just little.
Sergeant Burkhalter.
What about Aged Boomer or Study Hall or any streams going on over there in chat? Anything I am not aware of?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are in here and you have something that you need to plug, let us know.
And when's the next study hall on Agent Boomer's channel? That's next
so
Sunday?
that'll be the following week. So after Bogus Journey, then will be the next study hall with Agent Boomer.
And I just want to point out, Mr. Jedi. Oh, wait, no, not you, Casey Scott, but you're cool too. Mr. Jedi Master Zetopia, thanks for the fun, interesting night. His book study is on Thursday nights at 10. So hopefully you caught that before leaving. So yeah, Thursday nights we'll be doing good.
And that's a
Agent
great
Boomer.
picture too.
What's that?
I love his picture. The meeting Spider-Man as a little boy. His
Yeah.
thumbnail.
Yes, that's awesome. And all of this, guys, is going to be on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
So go to the Facebook group. I can't believe I'm recommending that. And actually, just guys, okay, since you guys are still on,
One of us.
exactly.
Oh,
Join
that's
the
a
dark
rewatch
side.
we need
Get
to
a
do
cookie.
sometime.
So Darkest Hour. If that's horror, I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know it.
I don't know.
What is that?
I don't
Maybe it's an
know.
anime he's talking about. I don't know.
But
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh,
Well-
yes, guys. Actually, yes, I do remember. Guys, please do not be offended if I do not respond to your friend requests on Facebook. I've gotten some friend requests, and I just turn those off because I really don't do much on my personal stuff, and I haven't been posting on my personal stuff. There's just no need for me, not yet unless I build something for Sound Engraver. So if you send me a request and I don't receive it, just know I'm going as minimal as possible. I only go on the props Facebook page.
that's literally why she's there. And that's why I encourage you all to come to the Professor Geek's Facebook group. If for no other reason that you come to Facebook at all and have an ID there, do it for that because it's
But if
worth
you-
it.
Or on Twitter, make sure to follow Sound Engraver.
Oh yes, please. Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter.
Darkest Hour is a film about Winston Churchill. starring Gary Oldman.
Oh, right. I have that. I just got that on DVD. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. I'd be interested in that. Yeah, very good. All right, guys. I feel like I've plugged everything, but I also feel like I've missed stuff too.
Well, but if you have, that's what the Facebook group is for.
I think we got everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That is true. Well, Tim, no interest in your personal life whatsoever. Well, that's good because it's really not that much there. So, but yeah, you could follow me on Twitter too. I'll be more active there. So anyway, if you guys have nothing else, I'm ready to call it a night and go to church tomorrow and all that good stuff.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks guys all for just joining me and having fun with this one, and really do appreciate it. It's just fun to have you guys, and thanks for joining me guys in the chat.
Yep.
And always be on the lookout for some sound experimentation and music on Thursdays and live commentary on Monday nights, Monday Night Muse. And until I see you next, keep producing the art you love, and I will catch you later. Good night.
Bye.
Night. Night.
I'm gonna go